What is good, NFFC live? We are here live stream. Me and Podcast Pete. Pete's on vacation, but he's here dedicated to the folks. You saw us draft last week from the 111 Pete. Funny enough, just a few hours ago, this lobby filled. And what pick do you think we got, Pete?
We got the same pick that we got last week. So we're going to be able to see last week changes to this week and see if anything's really changed with recent news in the NFL and updates. But the 11 spot's great, and again, this is a third round reversal too.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. I want to get that early value on a pick in round 3, and I love to take advantage of the board, like who ends up making a mistake, and also people who are sharp. If there's sharp picks along the way, that just determines and makes uniform part of what I'm going to do for my pick. So you follow ADP, the value that falls to you. It's a little bit out of your control, but in a way, if mistakes get made or value pockets occur, then it's to the benefit of the person in the back half of the draft. Now, last week, when you were in the driver's seat and you were clicking the buttons, what was your feeling, thought, sentiment as the first round was unfolding?
Yeah, we talked about it, right? And Jahmyr Gibbs goes off the board at the 101. But we talked about it, right? This is a start 3 wide receiver format. This is a 1 point per reception format as well, and it's a third round reversal, right? So, typically in drafts this year, I have leaned heavily on running back early, like many have. But in a situation where you got to start 3 wide receivers, I tend to lean a little bit more on securing wide receivers early and then being able to kind of give yourself a little bit of freedom. Last week, we went James Cook in the first slot at 111, and then we went 3 wide receivers straight right after. And we felt pretty good about it. It's 30 rounds, by the way. If for those that may not know, it's a $150 buy-in. If have not used our promo code yet, you can use first time 100, get $100 off your first draft. So this is a $150 entry. You punch the promo code in, and you only got to pay $50 for an entry in this draft. In terms of the payouts, right? There's 12 teams in the draft. Like I said, 30 rounds, third round reversal. It pays the top 3 in each league, including $800 to first place, and then you have a $30,000 grand prize. So total points for all teams over 17 weeks. You're drafting, and then you're pretty much done. And the prizes are based on 230 leagues, which is 2,760 teams. Teams, again, accumulate those points from weeks 1 through 17. So a lot of fun, a lot of ways to win some money here. And we love drafting with NFFC. Jeremiah, let's get to the board here, right? We've seen pretty much a split here. 4 wide receivers, 4 running backs off the board. You're coming up here in just a few picks. Team 11 in the 11 hole. What are your thoughts so far? Who are you hoping falls to you at 11 with what's on the board?
Well, I will say, Pete, if there's running backs on the board, is there any disinclination where it's okay, where you think I can double tap wide receiver and we play a little bit of chicken with the 0 running back game?
Absolutely. I don't mind getting unique. I think going 0 RB early is interesting. Again, it's a 3 wide receiver start, and we're talking best ball, right? So we don't have to, add or drop or make any lineup changes, right? And if you are to go that route, then you're really just looking to maybe handcuff some really really elite running backs, and hope for some injuries down the way to maybe fill in those gaps. But 0 RB, it's not my style, but I don't mind giving it a shot. I mean, depending on who's there at wide receiver, if you're in love with it.
So I'm sitting here thinking, last week we were in these shoes. You had James Cook fall to you. I'm going to go for differentiation here. We have different running backs, and you know what? This is going to be a shout out to you, homage. It is going. Did we go Chase Brown last week? We didn't go Chase
We did
Brown. All right.
not.
I'm
We
going to
did
go
not.
Chase Brown. I'm going to take a stand. He's a player that you want. Pete, you've been hyping him up. There's this clump of running backs, and it'll fall to you every time, and you'll pick it every time. And in this instance, we have a little bit of diversification. Pete, you and I are going to do multiple of these drafts. So part of the thinking is we've already got a draft in hand where James Cook has been selected in round 1. Well, I'm going to run the thought experiment, push it to the 112 where they have to decide, do they want James Cook at the top of the queue? They want Justin Jefferson at the top of the queue. And I am thinking of going very contrarian here for a player that will not come back to me. Can you think of a receiver who will not come back to me, Pete?
Oh man, I'm gonna say Malik Neighbors or AJ Brown. Those are the two guys that I'd be thinking that you might be considering not coming back to, because AJ Brown's really been pushing up into drafts. He's kind of like that early to mid round two, and now Malik Neighbors is starting to kind of push up as well.
All right, so the player that I have in mind, Pete, is Emeka Ibuka. Is this too crazy,
Ooh.
or is it a stand where he's not going to come back to me? What do you think?
I think Ibuka will come back to you, but if you're going for direct differentiation, I don't hate it.
All right, that's all I needed, and I took it personally. I'm going to go with Emeka Ibuka. F all you hoes in this draft room because I don't think he comes back to me early round three. And this is going to be a ripple effect because there's going to be other value that falls to me in round three at the third round reversal, but I don't think I'll be able to get the multiple players in that pocket. So I think I'm doing a little bit of an inception thing here, and we shall see. I'm all about some Justin Jefferson, who's still on the board, recovering, having a great season. AJ Brown, as we spoke to, that's pretty chalk. So I'm going to go a little bit of a differentiated build, and I force this person to finally take James Cook. They go JT and James Cook. Going back to my picks, I mentioned to you, Pete, hey, I'm going to go maybe wide receiver here. And you said, hey, we could try it. But I like the fact of you come away with a running back, you come away with a receiver. It's two running back, it's three receivers. I love it, man. So I love that we went 1-1.
Yeah, I do too. And I don't hate it, right? I like Igbuka. I think in these, you have to understand that when we draft so many teams, you're going for differentiation, especially if you're trying to cash in pretty big. Last year I did it with Christian McCaffrey in the flex six draft on fast draft, right? And I ended up with like the number three ranked team at the end of the season, and I was taking McCaffrey very early in drafts, early on in the process. And then his kind of ADP fluctuated, was in that second round. Sometimes I would still draft him early on in the first just because teams weren't doing it, and because the ADP was scrambled around and was going to change. I ended up making moves like that, and it ended up paying off for me. I do want to note about Chase Brown, since we did talk about him a little bit. There was some reports today from Charlie Clifford of NBC5 that Brown has actually been taking some reps out wide at practice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have him listed for 90 targets this year, Jeremiah. I feel pretty confident and comfortable about that. I think that is what I expect, right? Not a ton has changed in Cincinnati with the offense. Switching to Emeka Egbuka, right? Do you have any concerns with the other pass catchers around him, right? Chris Godwin coming back, right? We know he's a target hog. Jalen McMillan has looked really good when healthy. Ted Hurst looks like he's going to fit in very well at this X receiver role. And then you still have Tez Johnson, who's kind of a wild card. And you have a very capable running back in Kenneth Gainwell who can catch passes in addition to that. What are your thoughts when it comes to Egbuka and just all the target, competition that he has? And how do you see him kind of, I guess, overcoming that and being able to pay off at that kind of price?
Well, essentially, I see him, and we've done another show with yourself, Wyatt, and me, where I said I'm calling my shot, and we did round 4 ADP at the time. Egbuka is a little bit higher here in ADP now, where he's a round 1 player next year. So I see him as a round 1 player, and we saw a highlight today. Ted Hurst absolutely balling out. You love to see it for him because you had Ibuka, Jalen McMillan, who were out, Chris Godwin, all had a maintenance day. So it was good to see Ted Hurst ball out. I can't sit there and play the Fear Street game narrative. I just have to bet like I'm right. And I'm hearing other sharper gamers. Like when I hear Theo Greminger talking about Emeka Ibuka, like we had that show, and then oh shit, I just got sniped so good on Malik Neighbors.
Malik
Hold that
Neighbors.
thought. Great pick by that person. I was going to go for Malik Neighbors. Now, should I go Brees Hall, Zay Flowers, or George Pickens? What do you like?
I like Pickens a lot. I prefer Pickens. I have him ranked as a top 22 wide receiver, just player in terms of points per
Mhm.
game. So I don't mind getting a slight discount here at 26 for him.
Beautiful. You love to see it. And you can tell a narrative that while you're disappointed that I got sniped on Malik Neighbors, what a sharp board. You love to see it because they were probably like, man, this MF went out and took Emeka Ibuka, so I better get somebody like Malik Neighbors. So shout out to Team 12 there. Um, I've
Yeah,
seen,
Team 12 though. I'm curious what your thoughts are on the Drake London pick at the 1-2 turn. I'm not crazy about London this year at that kind of price tag. I'm not crazy about that. Would you take London that high ever in drafts for you, or are you kind of like me where you're a little bit standoffish at his price tag?
well, the patch of maybe Ashton Janty, sometimes Chase Brown, all through Saquon Barkley, all those running backs who go at the clump of late round one, early round two, it's very difficult to push and throw in Drake London. So sometimes, unless you land dead into the middle of round two, you're not always getting Drake London. So I appreciate and respect kind of the ripple effect of what Team 12 did with getting Drake London. And in my opinion, Malik Neighbors, that's a round one player. So they have three round one players in their mind, but getting Malik Neighbors in round three, absolute value. The cope that I'm going to say to myself is I've seen other drafters in this format in NFFC, Pete, go and get Malik Neighbors in round four in just later parts of the draft where he should go. So the price is creeping up. So maybe they don't have the differentiation versus the field, the bargain bin discount. But had he fell to me, I would have felt amazing and told you the exact same narrative. I got three round one players in Brown, Ibuka, and Malik Neighbors. But so be it. It is George Pickens.
Yeah, fair enough. Flowers goes off the board here at the mid third round. Devonta Smith goes just a spot ahead of him. Smith's dealing with that hamstring injury, so we'll see if that ends up affecting him. And he's been out of practice the last few days. I'm high on Flowers this year. I have Flowers ahead of Smith. If it wasn't going to be George Pickens, I would have taken Zay Flowers if Pickens went off the board in front of us as well. I still, of course, would have taken Neighbors. I mean, we took Neighbors at the 1-2 turn at the 2-2 last week. Actually, no. Wait a minute. I think we took Neighbors at the 3. Yeah, we took
Yeah.
Neighbors at the Neighbors fell to us at the 302, which was pretty sweet. But yeah, I mean, running back still not going super heavy here, though. Javonte, I'm a fan of Javonte. I don't know
Yeah.
that I would have taken him this high in this format with who's on the board. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who is left on the board at some of these respective positions?
So you still have Josh Allen. The first quarterback has not gone out. Tedero McMillan and Garrett Wilson at the receiver position. Lad McConkey at the running back position. Kyron, Josh Jacobs, Travis Etienne. You also have Jalen Waddle, Luther Burden, Terry McLaurin. It'll be interesting to see what receivers come back to us, Pete. It might be in that clump of Jamison Williams, Devontae Adams, Mike Evans. So it'll be interesting to see who falls. DJ Moore. What's your stance on somebody like DJ Moore? If he comes back to me, is he somebody that I should gravitate towards? Or is that something I should be more tied to somebody like Josh Allen, which probably won't happen at this stage of the draft for me?
Yeah, I mean, if Allen were to fall that far back to you, I feel like you kind of have to take him. So I would certainly be fine with taking Allen, and obviously he goes right there. I didn't expect him to fall that far.
No.
I do want to note though, there's a couple listeners in that are playing with us, so we appreciate that. Michael's in the house. Michael, let us know what spot you're drafted in, man. He said third round reversal is a long wait. Glad to hear, boys. Yep, definitely. I like the third round reversal format though, Jeremiah. I think it's nice. It creates some balance, and we've liked it too. I prefer being at the back end
Hmm.
of the first round if I'm not going to be in the first 1, 2, or 3 spots. I want to be right at the back. I don't want to be stuck in the middle in even non third round reversal formats. I just really prefer the ends on both sides this year.
Well, the beautiful thing about that is you get two opportunities where something falls to you at the 111, the position that we're in, and then something falls to you in the value in early round three. So you have opportunity for the board to present value to you twice. And I think if you're sharp on that, it can present just an excellent play for you. So far, Chase Brown, Emeka Ibuka, George Pickens. I don't feel pressure to go running back or receiver, but the beauty is I feel like I can come away with one of each in this pocket of the draft. I don't necessarily feel pressure on the quarterback front. I don't think there's a squeeze yet. We only have one through almost 4 rounds.
Yeah, Kyron Williams goes off the board here at the 405 spot. Kyron's kind of been slipping a little bit. Now, I'm not upset about it. I'm looking here at my rankings and Kyron Williams I have ranked at 43. He's the 32 in ADP over the last few weeks. So you're talking about getting him here, Jeremiah. He goes off the board in the 40s, 41. That feels like a much more palatable price tag. Again, I have him ranked as my 43rd ranked player, so I actually wouldn't have minded taking Kyron if he came back to us, but I doubt he was going to come all the way back down to 47. You're sitting here with two wide receivers. Do you see anybody, or obviously we assume that there's a chance that there are people drafting with us
Yeah.
in the in the live stream, so don't want to give too much out. But what are your thoughts on what's left? Tell us again who are some of the wide
Okay.
receivers, who are the running backs that are available.
Let's name a couple. Well, there's one player that goes, Terry McLaurin. You've got players who are in consideration. It's Luther Burden, it's Jamison Williams, Bucky Irving, Quinshon Judkins, who are here at the top of the board, David Montgomery. And then there was a consideration if I could get the stack with Terry McLaurin for Jaden Daniels, but that seems to have sailed. So in about 3 picks now, I think it's just going to be a positional allotment of those skill position players. I don't feel temptation to dive into the tight end bin. We see Josh Jacobs go, so I'm 2 picks away. Do you think I should go anywhere towards a tight end? Tyler Warren is on the board, but I just kind of think we can continue to mine value.
Yeah, I think he continue to swing for some value unless as a player that you really do like. Josh Jacobs is interesting. I have Josh Jacobs as as a top 25, 26 player. So I don't know why his price tag is still so low. The market doesn't want to come up on him, Jeremiah. He's going off the board here at 45. So that's interesting. But yeah, you're up here in 2 spots. I would continue to keep playing for value. Josh Jacobs is a great value, though. Bucky Irving is interested. Jamison Williams goes off the board right in front of you, so we'll
Yep.
see who you pick as you're making that pick. But I do want to talk about Bucky Irving once you're done making this pick. Just walk us through what you're looking at here with 40 seconds on the clock and who you're going to go with.
Well, it's funny enough. I like getting some Bucky Irving. I think we are just, it's a value that's going to go slipping through people's hands, and it's a value that you need to take at this part of the draft. And I don't mind going with some Bucky Irving. Granted, the person at the 112 could be listening to us. So I'm going to let you talk about Bucky Irving while I click him, and I'll see about the wraparound pick.
Yeah, Bucky Irving is a guy that I have had some concerns about, but I do want to move him up in my rankings. I had him at 65, but through some reports, right, he's practicing in full, and it sounds like they're working in a lot of Bucky and Gainwell on the field at the same time. Now, I still have some concerns with Bucky because of the possibility of being vultured at the goal line, plus it kind of reminds me a little bit of Bashal Tootin in a way where Bashal Tootin's got to deal with Chris Rodriguez vulturing touchdowns at the goal line, aka Sean Tucker, right? And then Kenneth Gainwell is kind of better than that, like LaQuint Allen type, right? Who's going to also take some touches in the receiving game, but I don't know. Bucky Irving's also a much better talent, in my opinion, and we've seen him do it. So I think it's at this point, Bucky's ADP is still kind of falling, and it's becoming where he's really a value. Now, BTJ and Marvin Harrison go off the board right after you on the turn. So you're sitting here, you got Chase Brown, Emeka Egbuka, Pickens, Bucky. What are you thinking here at the 50th pick overall?
So in my mind, I've got 2 backs. I want to go with a receiver at this point. It's Luther Burden versus Parker Washington. I want to come away with Parker Washington. I kind of feel like the person gave me a gift going BTJ there. I thought at the double tap they could have gone Parker Washington, and I'm not going to ignore the signal. I think he can end up being the number 1 wide receiver in this offense, and this is a player who is ascending. I've heard people talk about, hey, remember, they were describing basically Antonio Brown, the ascension that Antonio Brown had. And I know, shout out to the Podfather, he's all talking about, hey, this is Jerry Rice here with Parker Washington. And with Luther Burden, do you want some bears? Do you want some pieces? But between Roma Dunze, Luther Burden, Colson Loveland, I can see third in the pecking order for Burden, and it wouldn't be a problem, but it wouldn't be maybe the ceiling. So, and there he goes, very next pick. So, hat tip to that person at the 110. But I'm going to go Parker Washington. I think, one, he wasn't going to come back to me, Pete. Now I've got a 3-2 stack on receivers. And I was talking to Chev last night. We were doing a mock where he got in round 6, he was able to get Parker Washington. This, you have to pay up just a little bit. Round 6, he got Parker Washington. And I thought, hey, the rest of your team, that's a glue pick. So to me, Parker Washington is a glue pick where if he ascends up in ADP, he's really elevating this team and the squad that we're putting together.
Yeah, and I do like having the players you have here specifically in this combination, right? You have Igbuka, Pickens, Parker. You have the ability to really get a quarterback to match up with them pretty easily, and some good quarterbacks, right? You have a chance of saying, all right, if you miss out on some of these guys, you can take Baker and stack Igbuka with Bucky, with Baker, or you take your shot on Trevor Lawrence with Parker and maybe grab Brent Strange later, and maybe even like a late pick on Travis Hunter if you wanted to chase some upside
Yep.
on a cheap pick. And then you obviously have George Pickens with Dak, right? And you can also go that way and maybe build him up with Ferguson. And in these kinds of formats, right, we're looking for ways to kind of create avenues for us, right? Like, it's kind of like the old saying, right? The more keys you have, the more doors that you can open, right, in
Yes.
life. And same here with best ball, and same here in this format, right? The more keys you have, the more lineups and stacks you can build, and you've kind of set yourself up for the ability to go a couple of different directions depending on how the board falls to you.
Man, I love it. And you see Team 3, I got to think they're going to go Joe Burrow, either this pick or the wraparound. They've got Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, round 1 and round 3, respectively. And of course, they also have an out for options, talking about unlocking keys. They have an option for somebody like Bo Nix with Jalen Waddle. So I'll be interested to see on this 5-6 turn if they force Burrow, or, on the quarterback side, we still have Lamar Jackson out there. But in ADP, Joe Burrow is just a little bit ahead of Lamar. Let's talk about that, Pete. Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. Why would Joe Burrow be more wanted, desirable in this format? It's every 20 yards you get a point. So that's 5 points for every 100 passing yards versus 4 in a traditional 25-yard league. And then the Konami code, it's 6-point passing touchdown, and it equalizes a little bit. So I think for the audience, Pete, that's why Joe Burrow is a little bit ahead in ADP. And the rushing Konami, while it's good, it's not as advantageous as in some other leagues.
Yeah, and you're seeing a lot of quarterbacks being pushed down. I mean, we got a great value on Lamar. Last time we drafted. Right now, it's still only Josh Allen, and it's sometimes you just see a run happen, right, where eventually the dam breaks, and you're gonna see 3, 4 of these quarterbacks go. It's gonna be Lamar. It's gonna be Daniels. It's gonna be Burrow. Maybe a guy like Drake May. We saw Drake May second quarterback off the board, and then we saw Jalen Hurts go to that same team in the next round, and that was like round 5 and 6 last week. So I'm expecting quarterbacks to come here, but you make a good point, right? Like the 6 points for passing touchdowns really kind of evens out the rushing upside for quarterbacks, and when you have that, in such a flat year with quarterbacks where there's not a ton of differentiation because there's just so much opportunity. You look at Matthew Stafford last year was a top quarterback. You look at Drake May came out of nowhere, was was a top quarterback. Bo Nix, Trevor Lawrence was the top 5 quarterback in points per game. Brock Purdy was up there, top 5 points per game. So like you saw a lot of quarterbacks that were cheap and they ended up paying off. So I love the idea of just like letting the board fall to you, and if there's some value at quarterback, you scoop it up. But it'll be interesting. Burrow does go off the board. You did mention it, right? Is it going to be Nix later to stack with Waddle, or do they just go Burrow, with T. Higgins and Chase, they opted for the stack of the 3 players, and then we see the quarterback run happen immediately after I'm saying this, right? You get Joe Burrow, then Jardarian Price, then Drake May, Lamar Jackson, right? That's kind of what we were talking about and expecting. So the Drake May owner gets AJ Brown to stack with him, and you have the Lamar Jackson owner who gets Zay Flowers to stack with him. So kind of unfolding how we expected.
And some players who are at the top of the queue. Jordan Tyson is somebody I had queued up. Not that he would have made it to me per se, but not so many picks away. We got Tyler Warren, Jaden Daniels in the queue, RJ Harvey, Trevor Lawrence for stacking, Makai Lemon, Dak Prescott's also out there for stacking as well, Rico Dowdle, Blake Corum. Any of those names appealing to you, Pete?
Yeah, I mean, the guy that I keep talking about has been Rico for me. I was very high on Blake Corum earlier this year, and we've talked about it. And I still think from a dynasty perspective, he's going to be a guy that we expect to rise. But I'm not really in on his price tag too much, Jay. I mean, what's his current ADP right now for Blake Corum in this format?
Well, let's see. It goes Rico Dowdle back to back, 94 to 95 on Blake Corum. Do you like Corum more or less?
uh there for me for a second, but Quorum's price feels like it's been dropping slightly, so I'm not upset at like pick 90ish in that area. I still prefer Rico, but obviously Quorum has that upside if Kyron gets hurt. But I still would prefer Rico. I have Rico ranked inside my top 60 for the running back for total all players. So I'm a big fan of Rico. You might be able to get him on the way back in round 8. Jonathan Brooks is interesting too. He's really been rising a lot in these formats. I don't know that you're going to get Rico or Jonathan Brooks after the turn here. So if you're looking for a running back, I would go that way. You could also maybe go with a Trevor Lawrence stack if with Parker if you want to go up and get him. But I don't know that I would reach because again you have 3 avenues at the quarterback position that you can really just kind of wait. So there's a lot you can do here. But tell us what do you? I mean, you got the players in front of you. What are you thinking?
Yep. I'm leaning towards Makai Lemon right here. I'm going to take him and just boost the receiving room. And like you said, I don't have pressure at the quarterback. This person could take a stacked Trevor Lawrence with BTJ.
Yeah.
And Trevor Lawrence, if he comes back to me, Pete, do you think I should take him or do you think I should just wait down the board? Because I have opportunity for, Pickens, Ibuka. I got Baker later I could get.
Well, I mean, the good news is that a lot of these players in front of you now have taken quarterbacks, right? So, you're kind of in a point where you might be able to wait a little bit. The BTJ owner's behind you. So, unless somebody wants an unstacked Trevor, I would rather just wait because you have options. One thing, Jonathan Brooks goes right after your pick of Makai Lemon, as we said it. So, that's kind of funny how that happened. Then you have Ibuka and Lemon both on buys same time, week 10. Something to note there as we start to build this out, you can kind of consider. But yeah, I would wait on Lawrence, but if you want him, go get him.
All right, so I went with Jordan Addison. My thought being, I've got 5 receivers. I'm stacking the deck well. I'm of mine like you. I want to get running back stabs as we continue, especially on that back half of the draft beyond round 15. I want to go for the run on receivers before it runs out. So what do you think of that, Pete? With I go Makai Lemon, I go Jordan Addison, and I open up an option. Look, I lose Dak Prescott. There could be a quarterback run here. But for a stacking partner, I open the door and a key to the possibility of somebody like a Kyler Murray in a bounce back season.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. That's a good way to look at it too. Weirdly enough, I mean, Jalen Hurts also is a possibility, right? I mean, you could potentially get him. I don't expect Hurts to come back to you, but we'll see how that plays out. Um, yeah, I think you're in a good spot though. Addison there, not a bad call to go there and continue to kind of build up this wide receiver room. Yeah, and Lemon, Devonta, I think Lemon's missing practice more from a precaution standpoint because Devonta's now down 2. So we'll have to obviously continue to monitor that. But So far, so good. I like what you've got going on. And I think you can, again, maybe get Trevor Lawrence on the way back. And if not, you can shoot for Baker, maybe go with a Baker Kyler kind of stack as well.
Yeah, I like where your head's at. I think that would be just a way to cap the stacks and take what the board gives me. There goes Trevor Lawrence, not married to the outcome of having him as my quarterback one, but don't hate it either. It is interesting, though, that this person goes. Who do you think that they could be pairing with? Would it be a Brenton Strange later that opens up their level? Because there's no stacking power with that team, with team six, with Trevor Lawrence, but they do have Lamar and Zay Flowers. So hat tip to them. Getting round six Lamar Jackson, I think, is just a great value.
It is, and I did want to make a note. I once I saw that I was a little confused. I mean, maybe they go Jacoby Myers, right, and you can get like cheap stacks later, but
Mhm.
not what I would have done. But that's one of those things where it's a luxury pick, and you start taking two quarterbacks this high. I don't really love the process, but everybody's got a different way of how they're doing things. It's just not how I would have done it. But I do want to say we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back. Jeremiah will read off his team, and we'll let you know who's been picked so far. We're going to take a quick break.
The NFFC, my favorite high stakes fantasy platform. Why? Third round reversal, Kentucky Derby draft slot allocation. So it's a lottery based system where you can put in your preference where you want to draft. It's full PPR. There's 3 receivers. It's the best place to play fantasy football, especially for high stakes. And now they've combined with the FFWC, they have a lot more contests to offer. In fact, they have a double crown bonus where you can join the NFFC Primetime, and if you win that, 300 grand. You can also join the Circa World Championship, and that's 200 grand. You win both, you win $1 million. So go to playnffc.com/profiler and check the show description for a number of promo codes you can use. First time 100 to get $100 when you sign up, but also every time you sign up for a new contest, we give you codes to use to get discounts on those entry fees as well. Thank you to the NFFC. They make our podcast network what it is.
Man, you love it. We're back here. I'm at the 111, Pete. I got Chase Brown, Emeka Ibuka at the wraparound. Still a live stack with Baker Mayfield. It's out there. George Pickens, Dak Prescott did go. Bucky Irving, again, some Tampa share, but he's my second running back. I feel really great about my 2 running backs. I don't feel pressure. Parker Washington, I think, is at a tremendous value in round 5. Mekhi Lemon getting a lot of great reports. I feel like he's being hidden, but he can't be hidden in Philadelphia. I think he's just going to stick out like a sore thumb in the fact that he's going to ball out this year. Then Jordan Addison, I predicted Pete, he's going to get his first 1,000-yard receiving season. I have an open stack there with Kyler Murray. Jalen Hurts goes, so that's one less cross off for my stack share. But then again, all these other teams have quarterbacks. I think it should allow for me to get some form of a stack with what I have here. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. Hertz is an interesting pick. Team one feels like a team that's kind of just taking players that they like and not really going super hard for stacks. Again, stacks are not everything, right? I don't love to reach for stacks, Jeremiah. But I do know that, and we know that they are important to a degree when you're shooting for upside in those later weeks. The nice thing is you're also not playing on some other sites where you're put in a pod, and so it is cumulative. The full 17 weeks, so that does help, right? But in terms of what we have left, every team besides the guy behind you has a quarterback now. So you got to assume that quarterback's going to probably start drying up a little bit, but
Yep.
also there's a chance that some of these teams say, okay, well, I've got my guy. I can now wait a little bit on the quarterback position. So, you could maybe take Baker, but I can't really see anybody taking Baker, before your pick or after. So you might be able to squeeze him in at that 10th round, but I don't know how much you want to push it and take that risk. So what are you thinking? Is Baker a guy that you want to take? I mean, it is somewhat of a reach at pick 95 because of his ADP, but in a situation like this where you're running a little bit out of options here with stacks, with some of these quarterbacks off the board, you might want to just secure your guy and go get him.
Well, it's a matter of, I call it a 20 gap. Essentially, when you're about 20 picks away and you're on one end of the board, you have just a Rolodex, if you scroll, of all the players who they might not come back to you. Like when I went Emeka Ibuka, he was not going to come back to me. So in my mind, I was like, hey, F this, I'm going to go get him. So part of that mentality could be you're not reaching as far as you think you are in ADP. If on that 20 gap when you come back, you have a risk that that player isn't going to come back to you. So I'm inclined, if I need to quote unquote reach at either end, depending on where you are, I think that's part of what you have to do. Sometimes if you're in the middle of the draft, I feel like you have to almost pick BPA, just best player available, and structure your team as much as you can because you're so far away from controlling the board that you have to kind of take what's there. Whereas if you double tap at the ends, you can get some leverage and just kind of slide the slot machine just a little bit further to your advantage. Where some people might say it could be a reach, but you get a little bit of control of your team build.
Yeah, honestly, too, I don't really worry too much about reaching in these drafts. Like ADP matters somewhat, right, Jeremiah? If you're like sitting here saying, well, maybe I can wait and squeeze a little bit more time. But at the end of the day, even if you jump up and go grab a guy 15, 20 spots ahead of ADP, if you're looking at the board and you're nervous and you really like a guy and you think he should value even higher than where he's at, I think you just go ahead and take him. Chris Godwin goes off the board to team 7 there, which is kind of a bummer because it could have been nice, right? If you did go that Baker route,
Yep.
you could have maybe stacked and took both of those guys at the next 2 picks. So a little bit of a bummer. I do got to say, man, Sam Laporta slipping back here this far, kind of a head scratcher. I really, really don't understand the market on where Sam Laporta is going. Pick 92 on the board, Jeremiah. I have him ranked inside my top 5 for tight ends. I have him ranked, well 20 spots ahead of this. So it's a great value there for team number 8. You're up here at pick 11. I do want to give a shout out to the chat while you're making your pick and then tell us what your thoughts are. Fantasy Savvy in the chat. Steve, what's up, man? He said, good stuff. Pete, how many defenses are you grabbing in these? Typically two. Typically two, right, Jeremiah? I mean,
Yep.
we could go 3, but we don't try to push it unless it's just like a really, really nice defense that maybe you're mixing in like a defense with a great playoff schedule. Jeremiah, what are you thinking? Oh, so you do go Baker Mayfield. Okay, so we do that. So we lock him in, and then team 12. I mean, they're the only team now left on the board without a quarterback.
And they get their first tight end in Jake Ferguson. So I like that play there. Here's a question. Depending on who gets, okay, cool. They went Dart. Normally I go Dart before, but because I have some stack share and there's that passing element, Baker Mayfield isn't so bad or sacrilegious to go ahead of Dart, who has the rushing advantage. Team build wise, do I lean and go Casey Concepcion, or should I go Kyler Murray, stack with Jordan Addison, and I'm pressure off at the quarterback position?
I don't know. You could go Kyler. Are there any other stacks? I mean, I'm looking at your team here. Do you ever like look at like maybe a tight end that you like later on, and you say to yourself, maybe I can just get a quick, easy, cheap stack there, like a Rodgers and Freiermuth later on kind of thing. I mean, you don't want that to be a main stack, Jeremiah, but I don't know. Oh, well, there you go. You take Kyler, and that's fine. Kyler, crazy enough, I mean, Kyler Murray's been a top 10 fantasy quarterback in points per game every year that he's been a starter. So, are you worried that he's not going to be a starter for the full season? I mean, I know they're really making it a true camp battle allegedly, but I just don't see it for JJ.
Part of this game theory is I'm betting like I'm right, and instead of going a 6 wide receiver, which Concepcion, I absolutely love him, and I could have added him into the Shador Watson kind of stack share, and that was an option for us last week when you went out and got Casey Concepcion. But I'm going to bet like I'm right. So like another wide receiver in Casey Concepcion at this point in round 9 is almost like betting against myself. So the fact that I have Addison, I've got a unique stack share to a degree. It's not like the most uncommon or common stack out there, but I'd say it's a little bit more in the middle where it's somewhat unique and not going to be the chalk, let's just say. Addison Murray's a fun one. And I got Ibuka, Baker Mayfield. Now I feel so much pressure off me. If I go inclined towards a third quarterback, Pete, I'm trying to recall if we had 3 quarterbacks last week. But if I go third quarterback, it might be even like an upside player like a Mac Jones. It might be a Jalen Milrow. It could be a late Deshaun Watson, Anthony Richardson. It doesn't have to be somebody who's going to automatically fill. So I have faith in round 8 and round 9 with Mayfield and Murray. And another thing to speak to why I went with both quarterbacks and just to set it is the fact that in kind of all formats, we see this run between round 6 and round 10 where quarterbacks just go. People build, look at all the green and yellow in the top 5 rounds, Pete. There's so much of it. People get comfortable with their teams and they start backstacking it with the quarterback. So we see the quarterback start to run. So that's where I feel very good aligning. I'm getting out of people's way. I'm not getting in the way of somebody who's got Terry McLaurin. I didn't do that with Jaden Daniels. I didn't get in the way of the Jamar Chase, T. Higgins person and just go with a naked Joe Burrow. So part of that is theory of I'm getting out of my way, getting what I want. And of course, they're happy to get what they need. So sometimes it's optimal or suboptimal. Like how do you play it, Pete? Do you ever look at other teams and say, hey, we're getting out of each other's way, and I'm happy to go down my lane and see who can speed up the fastest?
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it's it really depends on the feel for everything. It's almost like like playing nice in a way, so to speak. I do want to mention Blake Corum goes off the board. We talked about Rico Dowdle before, and so Rico's still not off the board, right? We're coming up on 106.
Yep.
Gainwell, Blake Corum. So part of that is if you've been paying attention, Rico was splitting first team reps with Jalen Warren, and then Jalen Warren just got listed first on the depth chart over Rico Dowdle, which I'm not overly concerned. I mean, he's the
Mm-mm.
incumbent, Jeremiah, but he is splitting reps. I've heard multiple reports kind of mixed between, Jalen's taking most of the first team reps. Oh, it's Rico, back and forth. So, I mean, getting a massive discount on Rico for where he was going. I mean, we're talking about round 10, coming up on 107, 108, and Rico's still on the board. It's a really nice value, Jeremiah. What do you think about Rico? Has your mind changed on him? I mean, I know I was very high on him when we last talked about him, but has your thoughts changed on him at all with the recent buzz around camp and Rico goes off the board at 2?
I love
Oh,
that
sorry,
pick.
to team 2.
Yeah. I'm all about Rico Dowdle this year. So I think he's a tremendous pick, tremendous value. I think he gets 1,250 to 1,300 yards. There goes J.K. Dobbins. Great pick, Tony the Tiger at the 101. R.J. Harvey, funny enough, these Denver Broncos backs go, way soon. So you love to see it there. Skill set, archetype, different, but I think value in the Broncos backfield is huge. Look, it's like a Denver Broncos show right now. Bo Nix. You got 3 Broncos in a row. Tyler Shuck breaks the streak. You love to see it.
It is crazy. Harvey has typically gone ahead of J.K. Dobbins, and he goes behind J.K. here in round 10 too. So Harvey, another guy that may be slipping a little bit in public sentiment right now because typically Harvey J has been going around like the 90s, somewhere in that mid to late 90s. There were times he was going in the early 80s in this offseason. Sometimes I think he was going in the 70s at one point. So he's kind of fallen a little bit here without much real news. And it's not like Dobbins kind of shot up the board, Jeremiah, either. Dobbins goes one spot ahead of him, and this is the range that J.K. Dobbins has gone. J.K.'s actually gone a little bit higher than this in many such cases. So it's kind of interesting to see Harvey fall this far and Dobbins go ahead of him and it not be much of an inverse where Dobbins goes, gets pushed up the board at all. So that one's kind of interesting to me there too. You have Matthew Golden, you have Jordan Mason. Quarterback run did happen, Jeremiah, so it's a good thing that you did land Kyler and Baker because Brock Purdy, Jared Goff, Bo Nix, Tyler Shuck, all those guys go off the board, and you had no stacking opportunity with your current players, with those guys. Funny enough, too, the Sam Laporta owner did skip out on drafting Jared Goff. They took Purdy instead, which I guess with Mike Evans, they wanted to stack in that direction.
Hey, you can't blame them there. And hey, electrical substation be damned. Pete, what do you make of all these 49ers players getting hurt? Do you buy into the electronic substation?
I do think in some ways I do. George Kittle made a good point, and he said, it's kind of like working out. You have, these different chambers, red lights, all these things, and you always say like we're trying to get 1% better. If that thing that you're going to spend money on as a player gets you 1% better, then you're stacking up this thing that gets you 1% better plus this thing, and then it starts to kind of snowball, right? And it's the same thing with the substation where it's like, hey, even if the substation's making you 1% worse, possibly when it comes to like whatever, people are saying where it kind of breaks down like, I don't know, something in the muscles, then there should be something to be looked at. Now it is crazy. I think I saw a report that said 20 49ers got injured in practice, in just one day, which is absolutely insane, Jeremiah. But I'm going to let you take the mic here because you take another Broncos player, another running back, and it's Jonah Coleman in the same round that Harvey and Dobbins go off the board.
Yeah, I'm loving this. And funny enough, the guy goes with Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt. I was thinking of Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt on the wraparound here because we're getting good buzz about him. But F all these people. I want Jonah Coleman on so many teams, especially when I don't get J.K. Dobbins and R.J. Harvey. If J.K. Dobbins comes back to me, I take him. He goes, well, now I'm going to take Jonah Coleman. So I am like Magic Johnson, like, pass him back. I'm getting these Broncos running backs all day, and I'm not even thinking twice about it. So I'm really excited about this. And the next player, I talked about him a lot, and I push him down the board. I'm going to go with Casey Concepcion. I'm going to push tight end down the board, continue. And now as my 6 wide receiver, I'm drafting hoopers. I'm drafting ballers. I come away with an upside cuff pick player. We're in round 10. I don't feel averse to risk here. I'm good in the sense there. We hear, and you're a Broncos fan, Pete, Sean Payton is talking up Jonah Coleman as one of his biggest surprises. So I love him, and you cannot get me to not come away from a draft anywhere, almost any time, without a Denver Broncos running back, and that includes R.J. Harvey.
Yeah, it's I've heard a lot of reports. Coleman, I haven't heard too much just from beat reporters of like what they're seeing in terms of like he's been impressive. I did hear early on in like OTAs and rookie minicamp that the utilization for Coleman was very bullish in how they were using him, so that was pretty encouraging. I have heard really nice reports about Harvey. He's being used as a receiver a ton, and he's making a lot of plays in the receiving game. Interesting note for Harvey, he did injure his shoulder that he had off-season surgery on. He injured it in camp last year, so he was dealing with it all season. Dobbins as well, interesting. He is allegedly just like the chippiest guy at practice. He's jawing at everybody. It seems like he's got a chip on his shoulder, which is nothing new for J.K. Dobbins. And to your point, right, running backs get a lot of opportunity in this offense. It's just a matter of like trying to find the right one, of course, but at the same time, this is an offense that has thrown the ball to the running back top 5 with Sean Payton, in pretty much his entire career. So we know that there will be opportunities for the running backs, and in a best ball setting, Jonah Coleman's a fine pick. I don't know that I would have taken Coleman that high, but that's also one of these situations where you're just getting your guy. You don't know if he's going to come back to you, Jay.
Yes.
And so I'm totally cool with that. I think the Casey Conception pick is a phenomenal pick. That's the one I really am happy with because I have Conception ranked inside my top 100, Jay. So you're getting him here, inside in like the 120s, which is really, really incredible value. I think because of that injury, quote unquote, that he sustained in the Denzel Boston hype, he's kind of maybe falling a little bit down the board.
Yeah, I love it, man. I'm so excited about Casey Concepcion in 2026. We're getting highlights every day. It's Denzel Boston, it's Casey Concepcion. And hey, I open up the vein opportunity to be it Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson. Pete, who do you think? We were in this position last week. We took Concepcion somewhere around here, I think it was. And is it Shedeur Sanders or is it Deshaun Watson?
I don't know, man. I mean, it's pretty crazy. It sounds like reports are that Shador's looked better, or that Sanders. I mean, that Watson has just looked bad. So it's just making Shedeur look better. I still prefer Sorry, yeah, I still prefer Watson just because I think that the investment is still heavy in him, and I do believe they're going to give him every chance to fail, unless Sanders is just going to really, really have to blow them out of the water and just have a great preseason and in order to get a leg up, or else I think it's just going to be Watson who gets the nod.
Hey, while we're talking, we got 320 people on the stream. You love to see it. We're going to go to a break real quick and we'll come right back.
The NFFC, my favorite high stakes fantasy platform. Why? Third round reversal, Kentucky Derby draft slot allocation. So it's a lottery based system where you can put in your preference where you want to draft. It's full PPR. There's 3 receivers. It's the best place to play fantasy football, especially for high stakes. And now they've combined with the FFWC, they have a lot more contests to offer. In fact, they have a double crown bonus where you can join the NFFC Primetime, and if you win that, 300 grand. You can also join the Circle World Championship, and that's 200 grand. You win both, you win $1 million. So go to playnffc.com/profiler and check the show description for a number of promo codes you can use. First time 100 to get $100 when you sign up, but also every time you sign up for a new contest, we give you codes to use to get discounts on those entry fees as well. Thank you to the NFFC. They make our podcast network what it is.
All right, breaking down these teams as we approach my pick in a couple here. Pete, is there anyone on the board? I know we've been central focused to the team that we've been drafting. Is there anyone on the board that you like to commend and highlight where you kind of like their strategy and what they have going on?
Yeah, I happen to I want to focus on Team 5 for a second here. Team 5 gets Christian McCaffrey in the first round. They go A.J. Brown, Trey McBride, Kyron Williams, Devontae Adams. They get a little bit of a discount on Trey McBride, right? I mean, he fell all the way towards the late mid third round, which is good value. I haven't really liked clicking him at his current price tag. He also gets a discount on Kyron. Again, we talked about Kyron before. I'm right at 43. He goes off the board at 41. So I think that's a fair value. He also gets Devontae Adams, DK Metcalf, Pittman, Worthy, Golden, Woody Marks, Chris Rodriguez, and he sets himself up to pretty much, he can go Aaron Rodgers to get a stack with those 2 Pittsburgh wide receivers, who I think Pittsburgh's still a pretty undervalued, an undervalued offense right now. And you also have the ability to go with Matthew Stafford, who at pick 140 is still on the board, Jeremiah. I'm sorry. I don't care. Stacks or no stacks, Jay. Sam Darnold, Jordan Love, Cam Ward. These guys should not be going ahead of Matthew Stafford, regardless of stacks. So him still being there is a pretty incredible value. At pick 143, I mean, you have Baker, you have Kyler, you don't have anybody on the Rams. Would you consider just taking Stafford for the value, or just saying, hey, you know what? I don't have a stack here. I have got 2 quarterbacks. Even though the value is there, I'm not really interested in drafting him.
Would you go with him naked and hope to get a back stack later with somebody like Terrence Ferguson? Or would you be happy and fine with getting him naked, isolated by himself?
I think he's a rare guy where you could easily I'd still feel comfortable taking him naked. The only caveat I would have is with your situation, right? You have Chase Brown, Bucky, and Jonah, right? Like, do you sit here? Is there a running back or 2 running backs possibly to double tap and just say, hey, is it running back position drying up? I can't see your side of it, so I don't know what players are left. But I would consider that and maybe not get Glutton for a quarterback. But to answer your point, in just a vacuum, yeah, I would be totally fine taking Stafford naked and just trying to push for those tight ends.
So here, Podcast Pete, Dallas Cowboys kicker. Do we feel like that team kicker is an advantage here, this pocket of the draft?
Depends on what you think. What's available to you. I don't think it's a reach to go kicker in this format, especially with such a heavy advantage that Aubrey has. So I'm good with taking their team kicker if you wanted to go that route too.
All right, I'm going to break the seal with a strategery for the fact that we have the team defense guru. I know I don't need the Broncos or the Rams per se, as we're going through this draft. I know you can coach up some, maybe it's the New Orleans Saints, or you kind of like a middling Cincinnati Bengals in some part. So, did you say the Jets have a good schedule as well?
Jets had a have a decent schedule, especially in the playoffs. Colts are kind of interesting as well. They have a good, a really just soft schedule this year, and the Saints have one of the best schedules overall, and their playoff schedule is very, very attractive. And they don't even go inside the top 10 for defenses.
Now, Pete, leverage at tight end. Tight ends on the board. We have Mark Andrews, Brenton Strange, who I really like. TJ Hawkinson is going to be available much later. So at the top, it's Mandrews, Brenton Strange versus running backs at the top, Algier, Dylan Sampson, Isaiah Pacheco, Emmett Johnson, Charbonnet. Which direction would you go?
Man, it's tough. So you said Pacheco, Charbonnet, and who was the other one?
Tyler Algier.
Yeah, I mean, if it's Tyler Algier or Pacheco, I would prefer Pacheco just because I think the upside is higher because of the offense. Algier is more of a floor play if you're like, hey, I want to raise the floor in my room because I don't really love my players that I have. So that's kind of the thinking that I would have.
All right, what I'm going to do is going to be totally off the board. It's still high in the queue in the ADP. But I'm actually going to go for part of my secondary, tertiary build of my team. Brenton Strange is going to be my first tight end with the thought of I've got Parker Washington in round 5. I don't have a stack with Trevor Lawrence, but my God, Pete, if we get middle of the field open of Brenton Strange and Parker Washington, if it goes to one, it goes to the other. I feel like I've got a vessel to one of the best offenses subtly. And this is something that you can apply in best ball drafts, in high stakes drafts, and even in your leagues. You want to just get a wrap around. You want to squeeze, kind of like a snake that sizes you up. Get pieces where it's going to run through as the Jaguars offense thrives. I've got the pieces coming my way. So I get my first tight end. I believe in him having a breakout ability. So I'm betting like I'm right. I'm feeling pressure off right now, Pete. I don't need another quarterback. I'm really good at receiver. The only spot where I need to start taking some shots, I think you would agree, would be at the running back position. What would you say, taking a look at the health of my team right now?
Yeah, I'm good with Strange, right? It's your first tight end, and he has top 10 upside, I think, at the tight end position. So I'm good with that. Just inks a 3-year deal, so that we know that they absolutely value him and how they see him. So I'm good with that. I think running backs, you maybe have to go for a similar strategy of what we did last time, where it's just, hey, we're just gonna pound running backs in the mid to late rounds here, just to kind of raise that floor and provide some upside, right, for some of these guys that maybe get a couple of starts under their belt and maybe have a pop game here and there, just because maybe the starter goes down, like a Tank Bigsby, right, who we've talked about, right. So I think running back has to probably start to become the focus because we don't want to fall behind too much. You set yourself up great with the wide receivers, you stack with the quarterbacks, and I like being kind of you're not stacking with the quarterback, but at the same time, if you believe in the Jacksonville offense being top 5, right, and Strange and Parker both being a part of that in the middle of the field, then I'm okay with kind of just trying to get as much of that offense as you can.
Man, I love it. And looking at quarterbacks who are still on the board, it's Bryce Young, Jacoby Brissett, Fernando Mendoza, Rodgers, Geno Smith, Tua Tagovailoa. Any interest in any of those down the board?
No, not really at this point. Rodgers, low ceiling quarterback, no stack really there unless you wanted to go with a Rodgers and a Freiermuth kind of stack. Bryce Young, not super excited about him. Both his tackles are injured at the moment. I think it's really maybe shooting for Fernando Mendoza, trying to maybe etch out a cheap build there if you wanted to go that route. Because it's cheap, it's easy. You can go get Tucker. You can go get the kid that they just drafted as well, who's being kind of in those 3 wide receiver sets. I think he's the kid out of LSU. And then obviously like you have Naylor, so that might be the route too, and then maybe using Deshaun as like a fallback.
So some receivers on the board. We've got Trey Harris, Omar Cooper, Jalen Naylor, Trey Tucker, as you had mentioned, for the Raiders run out. And then talk to me about Isaac Tesla, Ryan Flournoy. We're hearing that Isaac Tesla cannot separate in camp. Is that something that people should be worried about, trying to take a late dart on somebody like Isaac Tesla? Is that more bullish for Jameson Williams, who people thought maybe Tesla could push into that? I think it's showing to be fiction now. And I think you got to be all in on, of course, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who I think you can take above JSN, and then Jameson Williams. I think it's bullish for the top two, and Sam Laporta, to your point, the value pocket.
Yeah, I think it's bullish for those top guys. At the same time, Tesla's not really somebody who I'm looking at and thinking, hey, this is an elite separator. It's really about the upside in the red zone, right? What he's going to provide. I mean, he scored, I think, he scored at least 4 touchdowns last year. Might have been 6 as a rookie on a little amount of passes. They gave up a lot to go get him, so I think they believe in him. But just the reports are not something that's going to scare me away. You did mention Ryan Flournoy. Flournoy is a guy that I mean, I have so much exposure to him, Jay. I think it's very possible he gets to 5-6 touchdowns this year, 800 yards as the third receiver in that offense for Dallas. And we know, Jay, if one of those guys go down, Lamb has had a little bit of some bumps and bruises the last few years. He's missed a little bit of time, right? If one of those guys go down, Flournoy slots in, and he's a top 24 wide receiver if one of those guys miss time. So I think he's the best quote unquote handcuff at wide receiver that you can get, and I think he's going to provide value. Even when those guys are healthy.
Yeah, like the rare wide receiver handcuff. And that seems like such an absurd thing to say. But I think it applies. But I think it's also bearish to the fact that Isaac Tesla is not as much of a wide receiver handcuff as people seem to think. Um, Now, speaking of wide receiver handcuffs, how about somebody like a Trey Harris, Pete? Are you in on him versus Quentin Johnson? What do you make of that breakdown of the Chargers offense? It sounds like Lab McConkey's got it locked up as the wide receiver one, but is it a QJ who it finally falls into place for him? Or is Trey Harris going to push in year 2?
I think it's a case of like I don't want either. In best ball, it's interesting. Redraft, not so much. Maybe have some exposure to Trey Harris, who I don't think will get drafted in redraft formats in managed leagues. Jay, I don't think he's somebody that I would want to draft because QJ is going to be there. But in a best ball format, best ball setting, I'd much rather take chances on Trey Harris than take chances on QJ. I've never really been a big fan of Trey Harris, and I'm sorry, of QJ. I think Trey Harris is a better player. So I would prefer Trey Harris over Quentin Johnson, whose ADP has been very interesting this year. I mean, he was getting drafted very low, and then he all of a sudden is getting drafted inside the top 100. I think Harris is going to push him for time, and this is also going to be a slow offense, Jay. It's going to be a run-heavy offense. I think Lab McConkey is going to feast and be really, really good, and then it's going to be like kind of spread around with the other wide receivers in the offense, and it's going to be Amari and Hampton just kind of eating up, a ton of work, on the ground. So I prefer Harris. Where do you lean there?
Man, I love Trey Harris. He's somebody who stands out to me so much. If you just watch him, you can tell the talent is there. They feature him on some quick hitters last year for a rookie. And as much as Quentin Johnson, we'd like him to hit, I just see at some point Trey Harris, delayed, not denied, coming through. And it's just a matter of this is going to be a printing press offense. So I would just juxtapose. I think we're out on Isaac Tesla, but
Yep.
Ryan Flournoy versus Trey Harris. I can't really parse either. I sit there and think high volume passing, up to 600 pass attempts in the season with Dak Prescott, Flournoy would be great. And then I think, hey, Mike McDaniel's just going to absolutely crush. Hey, I can't get enough of either one. So how do you determine Flournoy versus Trey Harris?
Yeah, I think Flournoy versus Trey Harris is one of those where if you believe in the talent, you might, but you're willing eat the fact that you might not get much work, with Harris, and you're just, it could be complete zero, then it's Harris. If you're looking for somebody that you're saying, hey, I know this guy's going to be involved, I know he's got a carved out role in the offense, it's Flournoy for me. I think Flournoy's a really, really good player, and I think he could be an impact player on a lot of teams in the NFL. I did want to mention too, Jay, Jacoby Lane, really, really nice pick for Team 5 there. Jacoby Lane was a guy that me and you drafted last week. We
Yes.
drafted him with like the last pick, like one or two picks left. It might have been our last pick. I'll have to go back and check the board, Jay, but it was right there with our last like 2-3 picks at minimum. And he goes here in round 14. So just shows how much he's getting steamed up a little bit with some of these highlights of him with the one hander in camp. Coaches Declan Doyle's talking about him. So interesting to see him all the way pushed up to round 14 here.
Man, love it, Pete. I'm going to need just a little bit of advice here. I go to Monclayborn. I just think as we scroll down, the 20 gapper principle applies,
Yep.
and he's not going to come back to me. So I love him, especially my fourth running back. Do I go with the two receivers of Trey Harris or Ryan Flournoy, or do you think I should go Tyler Algier or Ray Davis? Do I continue on the running back path because I have receivers so well built? What should I do?
I would go with Algier just because I think he could score some touchdowns. I also, I think Ray Davis can come back to you. He's
All right.
he's dealing with an ankle injury right now that could push him down a little bit down the board. So we're trying to be strategic here. If I do really love the Flournoy pick, but with the way your running back room is structured right now, I don't think you can get greedy and continue to stack too much at wide receiver. But taking Algier and Claiborne now gives you a chance to, take another two wide receivers if you wanted next round.
Well, I'm getting meat and potatoes for the fact that Tyler Algier, he's taken away red zone share from Bijan Robinson, and we absolutely hate it, Pete. Who's to say that he can't do the same thing to Jeremiah Love? I'm sorry, Bijan and Jeremiah Love, they can be adjacent for all we care in this exercise. Tyler Algier, if he's able to do it to Bijan, he can do it to Jeremiah Love. And I just don't see how, if there's two touchdowns on the ground, one of them doesn't go to Algier, three touchdowns on the ground, one of them doesn't still go to Tyler Algier, and we don't get all the ceiling weeks we want from Jeremiah Love. And then, of course, I have upside in a cuff like Tyler Algier. It's boring, it's not sexy, but he's a back end RB1, high end RB2, week in, week out, in the event that Jeremiah Love gets hurt. Granted, James Conner could do his thing, still be on the roster, but there was aggression in how the Cardinals sought him out, Tyler Algier, in free agency. So, Pete, how do you feel about the team now that we have set up?
Yeah, I'm feeling all right with it. Claiborne was a nice pick. I've tried to take Claiborne a decent amount in my draft so far. I would say it's interesting too. We haven't really seen the defense run yet, Jay, of people really taking defenses. It's been two defenses, Rams and the Texans. So I mean, you're sitting here in round 15. I don't love taking defense super high, but there's a chance you get an elite defense that falls to you down here at 16. So round 16, it might be worth taking a swing at or considering. But I do like your team so far. Tight end is something that we may need to start working on here too. Mark Andrews goes pretty late, round 13. That's pretty nuts. What are the tight ends that are available on the board right now?
Yep. And why don't I read the defenses and then I'll do tight
Yeah.
ends. So defenses to put in the queue if they make it back. Seahawks, right? Broncos, Patriots, Jaguars. Tell me when to stop. Eagles, Chargers, Steelers, Vikings.
Yeah. I mean, I would say on the way back, Denver, uh, Denver's definitely one of them, of course. You mentioned the Rams are off the board, Texans are off the board, right?
Yep.
So yeah, Seattle, Vikings are one to consider. Um, yeah, Seattle, Denver, Vikings, those are the three that I would target, and if they're both gone, then I would probably wait and maybe not swing on defense. But those are the three where it's like if more Denver and Seattle than the Vikings, but if those two teams fall to, then it's hard not to take them.
All right, beautiful. Now let's run down the tight end gamut. Dalton Schultz, AJ Barner, Terrence Ferguson, Greg Dulcich. I like Ferguson and Dulcich. Gunnar Helm is another one. Pat Fryermuth, there's actually a lot of vacated targets in this Pittsburgh offense. And who are we to not think, hey, Mike McCarthy comes in and things reconnoiter and we see the Broncos defense go for somebody like Pat Fryermuth, and he would just be such a post-hype sleeper player. Getting him in round 16, round 17 would be phenomenal. So that's where it starts to run out on starters. There's Eli Stowers, Jake Tonjes, who could be value. So you think I should come away with a tight end for this next wraparound?
It depends. It depends who comes back to us, because I like Stowers. We got Stowers really late last week, and Stowers hasn't made a ton of noise in camp that forces us to have to go pick him unless you're really bullish on him making a big impact. Flournoy goes off the board here at 16, and Denver right behind him, and then King Dulcich right after him, who's dealing with an injury. Water's wet. That's something we've heard a lot with Greg Dulcich in the past. But yeah, I mean, tight end, you're in a tough spot. I wouldn't want to reach. I will say Evan Ingram is kind of interesting, Jay, and not somebody that you have to take now, and not somebody you have to take at all. But Evan Ingram has been somebody who I've been getting a little bit of exposure to in these really deep drafts, because Davis Webb, right, is the play caller. We talked about it last week a little bit. Davis Webb, the play caller. Ingram and Davis Webb have a strong connection, strong relationship. Denver did keep Evan Ingram in last year. It sounds like Evan Ingram had to kind of work on his landmarks and stuff in the offense based on what Sean Payton said this week about him. But it seems like Ingram could have some value. So he's somebody to maybe consider in the next 4 or 5 rounds from now, if we're kind of kicking the tight end can down the road, is maybe somebody to consider. Eli Raridan too is somebody that I'm taking snipes at in that offense. He's making some waves as well.
So I have 6 wide receivers right now. Any thought to continue into the wide receiver if somebody like Trey Harris comes to me? Antonio Williams is there. We have Stephon Diggs, who signed with the Commanders. Troy Franklin, Tank Dell are out there.
Wait. Did you just say Stephon Diggs is still there?
No, I'm saying Diggs is with the Commanders. Sorry. Turn afraid.
Who took Diggs? What round did Diggs go? Because I think it's important for the listeners to hear that, because Diggs, getting signed today, it's interesting to see where the market sentiment is on him.
He goes in round 10. Okay. Unstacked, Mahomes and Herbert are the quarterbacks.
Okay. Yeah, round 10's fair. I think he probably pushes up into that 80s range. Is where Diggs makes a lot of sense. I think you should take Trey Harris if he comes back to you here. Those defenses go off the board. You like Trey Harris. You keep talking about Trey Harris. I think you should just take him if you like him.
Yeah, and I still feel, even though I have front-loaded, high-top, good wide receivers, I think this is such a great, one of the last layered picks where a guy can ascend up. We talked about those handcuffs, and funny enough, Flournoy, Isaac Tesla, and now Trey Harris go all in round 16. So I think drafters are of like mind. For the defenses that are coming back, Pete, Jaguars, Chargers, Vikings, any inclination that I should take one of them if they're on the wraparound back, or should I continue with somebody like a Ray Davis who's fallen back, with an Antonio Williams, a Tank Dell, Troy Franklin? At the tight end position, Terrence Ferguson is out here. Dalton Schultz, AJ Barner.
I don't hate the Dalton Schultz play, just to help with this tight end room with Strange. I'm okay waiting on defense here. I think we can muster up, something there and kind of salvage it since some of the elites go, and we can maybe click on some value here with 194.
All right, we got Dalton Schultz. I'm going to go click on him. I think he's a good layered pick. And again, directionally, if the targets aren't there, he and Jake Ferguson were high target hogs last year. People don't realize how much Dalton Schultz got targeted as a second tight end to just get baseline in round 17. I'm very happy with that pick. So thanks for the advice there, Pete. On this wraparound turn, I go Trey Harris, Dalton Schultz. So the direction of my team, we get a little bit of Chargers exposure, then we get just back end, Texans in the passing game. It's hard to get excited about the Texans passing game because I know you're a little bearish on Nico Collins. What do you make of Jaden Higgins? All the news that has been out for him. I think he's very popular, and we should look around for the audience, see where he went in this draft. He
Yeah,
goes round 11 to team 4.
Higgins is a player that I really, really loved in the process when he was a rookie. I'm starting to come around a little bit on this Texans offense more than where I was a little bit ago. Reports sound like Stroud's looked really, really good in camp. I try not to put too much stock into camp, with reporting and how things go. Sometimes you just got to trust your gut on what you're hearing. And it has sounded like the offense has looked pretty decent for the Texans. So I like the Jaden Higgins pick, though. He's made some rounds. He looks like a guy that's going to score, possibly 6, 7, 8 touchdowns this year. I do worry with Tank Dell coming back into the fold. I'm not saying that Higgins isn't going to be the number 2 wide receiver, but what I do worry about a little bit is just, a low volume passing offense, with a lot of mouths to feed. What does that mean? And Dalton Schultz is a guy that I saw almost, if not 100 targets last year. So it does worry me a little bit. I still want to have exposure to Higgins when he falls, and get some discounts on him. That's probably the only times I'm going to be drafting him is just when he falls and I can get a discount, which really sucks because I love the player. I just don't really love the situation for how it's setting up, combined with his cost.
So some players at the top of my queue right now for overall, Pete. Emmett Johnson, Jaguars defense, Seahawks defense, Kamani Vidal. So there's 2 running backs in Emmett Johnson and Vidal. Chargers defense starting to get clogged up with basically these high upside running backs. Got Ray Davis, the Vikings defense. It might be taking me in that direction. Any of those names stand out to you?
Yeah, I still like Ray Davis. I think we talked about him last week, but a player that if he's pushed and thrusted into a starting role because James Cook misses time, we know he can absolutely handle it, and he's looked really, really good. So I prefer Ray Davis if we're gonna go that route. Maybe dip back into tight end, go for Terrence Ferguson if we're looking for an upside pick. I like Terrence Ferguson at pick 215. I think it's a good cost. They're saying that Ferguson might operate almost like their wide receiver 3 since they're kind of short there. And he's got some good drum beats in camp so far as well. So those are 2 guys that I would keep my eye on.
Yeah, I like that. And then Gunnar Helm goes. I wonder how much are you clicking on somebody like a Gunnar Helm? Talk to us like in a redraft, in a dynasty, in a best ball. How would you approach Gunnar Helm? What's your thought on him?
Yeah, I'm not touching Helm. He's a streamer for me. He's a guy that I'm not going to waste draft capital on him. I'm shooting for upside players, especially in redraft. In best ball, it's a fine pick if you're stacking him, with Cam Ward. In this case, this drafter doesn't have Cam Ward, so he's taking him without that stack. But I just think this is an offense bottom 5. There you also still have to worry about the fact that Dayball did bring somebody in at the tight end position with the Giants that will also get some love and some looks there as well. I think it's Bellinger. I'm not sure. I'd have to look up if is it Daniel Bellinger that they brought in. I'll have to check that. But either way, I mean, you're dealing with a ton of target competition with Wandale, with Carnell Tate. And a low offense when it comes to scoring touchdowns this year. I just don't know how much Helm I want, even if I like the player. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm sitting with him. Are you somebody who's in on Helm this year?
Well, it's funny. I take picks on him, but it's only when he's my second or he's my third tight end. It's never he's my first tight end, and I'm going to fully buy into it. you got Shamir DK, you got Alec Amaner too, who I think are two layered players who many people are discounting and not thinking of the expansive nature of how the Titans offense could be in 2026. They don't see the full ascension. They just see it as peppering some Wandale Robinson with some targets. And then it's for sure Carnell Tate. He's going to have 160 unadulterated targets. It won't even matter who's out there. And it's just going to be a one-itis offense. I think there's going to be a lot more versatility and a lot more meat on the bone for the Titans offense in year 2 for Cam Ward in the entirety. So I think downflow from that effect would be Gunnar Helm. But to what you're saying, I wouldn't feel much comfortable in any other format than best ball. I'm not selecting him in redraft. No way.
Yeah, I'm not selecting him either. I do want to touch on just from a defense perspective. So Vikings go, Chargers go, Eagles, I believe are off the board as well, right, Jeremiah?
Yep, we've got Ravens, Browns, Bears, Packers, Atlanta
Yeah,
Falcons. Any of
I,
those?
I would go with the Saints. I would go with the Saints. I'm high on the Saints defense this year. I think they have a really incredible schedule. I have them in my tier 3 for defenses. They're the top of my tier 3 at 8. Atlanta's tough. I had Atlanta at 9. They're gonna have to get bumped down, unfortunately. They just dealt with some injuries. To I think Walker from the Falcons, the pass rusher, Jalen Walker went down with an injury and he's out for the season. So he tore his ACL. I was very excited for the pass rush on the defense, but that's definitely a tough blow there. So I prefer the Saints with their pretty nice schedule. So I would say we don't want to get screwed up and not and like we did last week and push defense too far. So Saints would be my pick. But if you're looking at the ADP and you're saying, hey, think we could probably wait another 2 rounds. Let's take these 2 picks and try to take a swing at them after. That I think you're good with that too. You see the ADP on your side, so
Yep. Well, I'll say it probably won't come back. It's going to be one of those 20 gappers where it doesn't align with ADP sharply, but in the sense of the 20 gap, it's the Saints will not come back to me.
yeah, that makes sense.
And then right now, as we're coming up, I've got Kamani Vidal at the top of the queue. The Chargers and Jaguars are also. Oh, that's team kicker. Sorry. Let's not get confused here. A little bit of a new format on that front, delineating who the kickers and the defenses are with the color scheme. But Team 11 here, I went Dalton Schultz last round. We've been pushing. We've talked about. Okay, I'll just go to you. We love Ray Davis. Any sense for Kamani Vidal?
Yeah, but Vidal is somebody too that I've gobbled up a lot of shares. I view them very similar. Vidal is going to have maybe a little bit more standalone upside than Ray Davis would, but you're taking a handcuff that if the starter goes down, he's going to get most of the early down work and still can catch passes. So I like Vidal as well, if you're considering him.
This is like the Moneyball meme. Ray Davis, it's, hey, he's a great player, but his only glitch is he can go off and have great fantasy performances against the New York Jets. If you look at all his big games that Ray Davis has had, Pete, it's been against the New York Jets. For whatever reason, James Cook happens to be hurt then. Maybe we can just look at the dates where the Bills play the Jets and see what happens there. It reminds me a lot of Sean Tucker. Sean Tucker is another player who, he's up here in the queue. He's picked 199. Is he another player to consider, or do you think we should go for the New Orleans Saints?
I think you should go with your gut. Go with your gut here. I've helped you out on a couple here, but I
Yep.
think when you are bringing up somebody a few times, you clearly want to make the pick. So just go make your pick.
All right, I'm going to go with the New Orleans Saints. I'm bona fide with the defense. I filled out a spot. I know I'm going to get points printed every single week. I'm not married to Kamani Vidal. I'm not married to Sean Tucker. And there's some other running backs who I think we've spoken about before in previous shows and just in general that we like. There's more cuff backs out there. There's been a run on defense. And as a sleeper upside type of play, I like the New Orleans Saints. Now, Pete, remind me, last week when we took the Cowboys as a kicker, were they the only kicker that we took and we're like, hey, we'll take the L on the bye week and then just get the advantage the rest of the weeks?
Yeah, that was what we did. I still don't mind taking a team kicker with like even like the last pick. I don't think there's going to be 0 kickers to take at the end, so it's worth it to just grab a kicker at the very end to just have a fill in. We're not going to need him for anything else really.
Man, I love it. The Jacksonville Jaguars defense goes off. Let's hear a word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
The NFFC, my favorite high stakes fantasy platform. Why? Third round reversal, Kentucky Derby draft slot allocation. So it's a lottery based system where you can put in your preference where you want to draft. It's full PPR. There's 3 receivers. It's the best place to play fantasy football, especially for high stakes. And now they've combined with the FFWC, they have a lot more contests to offer. In fact, they have the Double Crown bonus where you can join the NFFC Primetime, and if you win that, 300 grand. You can also join the Circle World Championship, and that's 200 grand. You win both, you win $1 million. So go to playnffc.com/profiler and check the show description for a number of promo codes you can use. First time 100 to get $100 when you sign up, but also every time you sign up for a new contest, we give you codes to use to get discounts on those entry fees as well. Thank you to the NFFC. They make our podcast network what it is.
You love it here. NFFC. Check this out. I've done some of these where I wait too long on the defense and have to end up grabbing 2 or 3 horrible defenses and hope for the best. So they can go fast. So that makes me feel much better about going with the Saints here. There's been a run enough. I feel like, Pete, I've gotten positional advantage in other areas, especially the wide receiver position. I feel very comfortable with my quarterback position. Anything critiquing on this team, how we've gone, even patchworking back the running back position. I mean, after I've got Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, I buy them, I click them, I believe in them. I'm betting like I'm right. That's what you have to do in these tournaments. Jonah Coleman, Damon Claiborne, RB3-4, they're the moonshot upside players. Tyler Algier, a meat and potatoes kind of player who's going to maybe get those 10 points when you need them on a week where it's a bye week for Chase Brown or Bucky Irving, or they just have a down week, and there's injuries, of course. And then Ray Davis, I have him as just a pure upside type of play. So how would you critique the team as we're here now in round 20?
Yeah, I think we're there's a lot of risk baked in with the running back position, of course. While I did mention Bucky and I did mention that I'm coming up on him a little bit from where I had him, and I think consensus is a little too low on him. We're relying on him to be our RB2. We're really hoping that Chase Brown, who I feel extremely confident about, and clearly you do as well, we're leaning on Chase Brown to really be that anchor for us, right? Because I mean, if Chase Brown is a bust and Bucky Irving does what the market believes, and that's really a guy that's in a timeshare that doesn't hit high, we're gonna really be in some trouble if we don't get elite play out of these wide receivers. So that'd be my only hesitations about the team so far, but that's why we're trying to back up, with some high-end handcuffs, right? So we take Ray Davis, we take Algier, who, Algier's not in the best offense, but at the end of the day, we know he's going to get looks at the goal line, so that should be helpful, Jeremiah, for us. And then Jonah Coleman, of course, right? I mean, if J.K. Dobbins goes down, right, Jonah is really more of a handcuff to Dobbins than he is to Harvey based on their skill sets in the role. So, we're doing the best to kind of backfill that. I think we got jacked up a little bit, and we missed out on some running backs we could have taken to make the room a little bit better. But overall, I do like everything else. I mean, Claiborne's very interesting. He plays behind 2 guys that have had issues staying on the field in terms of Jordan Mason and Aaron Jones. I have no doubt in my mind Claiborne's going to have a week or 2 this year where he's just a starter off of sheer injuries alone, in the season. So that's kind of my hesitations on where we are. The receiver room is really good. I don't need to tell you that, and I think the quarterbacks have a lot of upside, right? I mean, Baker could easily be a top 10 quarterback, and Kyler, for what it's worth, I mean, there's a world. If you told me, hey, Kyler finished as quarterback 5 on the year, I wouldn't sit there and tell you that there's no way that happens. Do I think it's gonna happen? No, but I wouldn't be surprised if it happened.
Okay, that one hurts. I was looking at Shador Sanders here to be a nice little stack with Casey Concepcion. Tough break, tough run out, and that just leaves guys like Michael Penix, Mac Jones, JJ McCarthy, Joe Flacco, Jameis. So that part is a little bit tough. I might need to get creative with some of my backup quarterbacks. Um, Pete, any inclination to just go with two quarterbacks, or do you think I'd be foolish to not come away with a third at some point?
I mean, I think we can go grab a third at some point, right? Even if it's a backup, right? I mean, I guess we're looking at, like you said, Mac Jones. Um, I mean, Cousins, but he's already gone, of course, and he's going to start most of the year. So it's really Mendoza. I guess that's the backup. Um, hmm. Yeah, I
All right.
would say maybe with one of our last picks, right? Yeah, you're kind of filling in those gaps. Like last pick might be a quarterback that's a backup, and maybe you're filling it in with like a kicker in that bye week.
And I love it. And we've gone with, for the tight end position, Brenton Strange, Dalton Schultz. I got Eli Stowers on the board. I'm thinking I'm going to click him. It's the Philadelphia Eagles. It's a good option. It's a good layered player. And I have full faith that Brenton Strange is really going to pull up for my team. Dalton Schultz is going to get some of those healthy points. Eli Stowers can be my upside play. Tons of athleticism, Pete. To me, reminds me a lot of Jordan Reed, where he may not be asked to block so much, but middle of the field open. Another cool thing, and this is cool. I've done this twice now through habit. You have Parker Washington on this team in round 5, Brenton Strange in round 13. Well, I've also got Eli Stowers here and Makai Lemon. So I've got some Philadelphia share where I don't have the quarterback. This is a lot of fun. I didn't even intend to do that. First time I intended to do that. Now the second time it just works out. So I've got Philadelphia offense secondary share, a receiver in Lemon, a tight end in Stowers, and then the same thing with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I have two top 5 offenses in my mind who, even though I don't have the quarterback driving the bus, I'm the beneficiary so much. So I feel like that's something that can layer and build up my team. Who I do this now in round 20. So I love something like that for a top high end offense. What do you think, Pete?
Yeah, I like it too. You know how I am. I was very high on Stowers this year. So I'm good with the pick. I think the upside is absolutely there. And you're looking at two pass catchers that could be dealing with injuries already in Smith and Lemon. That you're gonna need to use these tight ends if that happens in year, if it lingers. And Stowers, I think, will be involved. It might not happen early on, but he'll be involved.
All right, so I go Ollie Gordon. I just think in this patch, people are going to get too cute, and I don't mind scrolling down and getting him. And I think he's the direct cuff to Devon Achan, and he's completely mispriced, Pete. And at this part of the draft, where we're in the back third, I have no issue going with Ollie Gordon, especially with my running back room. I've got to take some stabs. I got to take some shots. There's some other players that I like out there that we've spoken about before. But when I think of all the running backs out, like right now, okay, here's in the queue: Emmanuel Wilson, Braylon Allen, James Conner, Trey Benson, LaQuint Allen, Chris Brooks, Malik Davis, Adam Randall. When I'm picking apart and looking at who can be just a direct handcuff and absolutely have league winning upside, funny enough, it's Ollie Gordon. So I'm just so thrilled. The types of running backs that I'm getting who are filling out the depth of my running back room, we can have Pete complete leverage on the field with somebody like Ollie Gordon, Damon Claiborne, Jonah Coleman, and Ray Davis.
Yeah, I love the Ollie Gordon pick. We talked about him last week. Not really sure why Jalen Wright goes so far ahead of
Mm-hmm.
Ollie Gordon. It really is confusing to me.
He went round 18.
Yeah, I don't really understand it. I would prefer Ollie over Wright pretty comfortably. So I don't know why ADP doesn't see it the same, and I don't know. Not too sure about that. Parkinson's interesting, by the way. Colby Parkinson goes off the board there. Ferguson goes way higher because of the upside. Parkinson 8 touchdowns last year, and he goes this late, so it's a nice value for Team 5 there as well.
Yeah, now it's kind of like get your guy season. Maybe I inspired, and hey, I go Gordon because you had to scroll down a lot, almost to the point where people would be like, "Oh crap, he's still there in the queue." That's how far I had to go, and I can see that an element of that for Caleb Douglas and for Cyrus Allen. Now, last week, Pete, you had clicked on Cyrus Allen. He's getting all the buzz, running with the ones, but now we're getting a lot of buzz about Caleb Douglas for the Miami Dolphins. He was a sleeper for me early in the draft process, so it is pretty cool to see him here in round 21. Some of those mainstream sites that might do only 18 rounds in the best ball formats, we could be getting the ADP where Caleb Douglas is even more mainstream. But in these deeper streets in the NFFC, he can play to win big prizes, Pete. He goes in round 21. Fair price, jumping the shark, or are you of the mind, Pete, round 21 to 30, ADP really isn't sorted like we may think?
Yeah, I think that's really what it is. ADP doesn't really matter at this point in the game here. You're taking guys that you like, and that's really it. I mean, you're 250 players in. You have no clue how people are going to value guys. Guys, most people I think should just not really care for ADP nearly at this point and just go get your guy. There's no reaches this late in the draft. I will say, Caleb Douglas, interesting player. Just in terms of, no Chris Bell, Stephon Diggs now gone. He goes to the Commanders. Debo Samuel goes to the 49ers. So there's really not like that veteran that's coming in unless it's Keenan Allen that comes into Miami to kind of help save and raise the floor in this room. So it really is going to be left to Dulcich, Caleb Douglas, Malik Washington, those kinds of guys. And somebody's got to catch the football. So it's not a bad pick there. Cyrus Allen, I love the pick, though. I will say that I would prefer Cyrus over Caleb just because of the type of the offense and just I don't know. I love Cyrus Allen. I liked him in the pre-draft process. I wasn't like in love with him, but I did like him, and I do have some shares of him in some dynasty leagues. But he ends up being okay after that bang up in practice. And this is great value, in my opinion, to get Cyrus Allen with all the steam that he's had. I have him inside my top 200, so to get him here, at the, in the 21st round is really really nice value.
So a receiver that pops out here is Troy Franklin. Are you of the mind that he's going to do much of anything? We get word of a Jalen Waddle injury. Are you concerned about Jalen Waddle, Pete? And what about the depth of this receiver room for the Broncos?
Yeah, the Broncos receiver room is really tough because I think there's a trade very possible coming. But if Waddle is now showing possibility he could get hurt, Sutton didn't practice last 2 days, but they were considered veteran rest days. That they don't usually get two of them, so that's interesting. Mims is an All-Pro
Mm-hmm.
returner. So he's got the most value. He's on an expiring deal. Franklin doesn't have an expiring deal, so but he doesn't have as much value. So would they trade him? I don't know. I do think there's a possibility there's a shakeup though, and somebody does get moved. And Waddle has had issues staying healthy on the field. I don't really love Troy Franklin. I gotta be honest. It's not the pick I would go with. I'd rather take a chance on somebody else. But if you're saying, hey, Waddle's had issues staying healthy. I'm just gonna go take Franklin and take a chance on him. I don't mind it if you're interested in him. He's just not my cup of tea.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like Pat Bryan, if he's not there, I kind of really don't want to dive into the Denver Broncos. I'm really interested to see what could happen trade wins. You think it would be like a tertiary player like a Marvin Mims? You don't think it would be somebody like a Cortland Sutton, do you?
I don't think it's Sutton. I think Sutton is too important to the room. I think Sutton's a possibility to look out for next year with his contract. I don't think it's going to happen this year, though. He's just too important to what they do.
I'm so happy, Pete, because we can talk all crap about the sixth, seventh, and eighth, ninth Denver Broncos wide receiver, but give me somebody who can be the wide receiver two on the Seattle Seahawks. It is Torrey Horton. If Cooper Kupp is complete dust, you almost Torrey Horton before he got hurt, you could almost not buy him off of dynasty rosters. And when I saw Cyrus Allen go, it kind of triggered to me. I'm like, okay, Torrey Horton is here and around. So Horton here's a who, Retzlaff here's a Horton. because I got Torrey Horton on my team. Just another layered play receiver. It's been now 5 rounds since we went, or sorry, yeah, 5 rounds since we went Trey Harris. So I'm ecstatic to go and get somebody like Torrey Horton. What do you make of this play this deep at receiver in round 22?
Yeah, Horton is somebody who I've always kind of liked. I think it's extremely impressive when you have a player with his draft capital, getting X responsibilities last year in the Seattle offense. It's a thin offense, not a lot of weapons in the room. It's really JSN and then a bunch of guys that are unproven. I know people are high on AJ Barner this year. Horton is interesting. If he stays healthy, I think he can definitely be a contributor in a big way for Seattle this year. So I think it's great value there too.
All right, we're not shopping at Walmart. We are shopping at the NFFC. Speaking of great value, I go with the wraparound pick with Isaiah Davis. Again, ADP is starting to get thrown out the window. Get your guy season. It's wild, wild west here. I'm seeing where he surpassed Braylon Allen, and eye test can be lie test, but I see Isaiah Davis, and he is just electric, Pete. I want him as a cuff to somebody like Brees Hall. So there's a lot of optionality in this team with how I'm building this running back room. My God, okay. Jeremiah Love, law of large numbers. We want to do this practice. Ready? Law of large numbers. Does it stand to reason that one of the following running backs will get hurt, Pete? In addition to, I already have Bucky Irving and Chase Brown. So assume health for me. We're being selfish season. Assume health for the team we're putting together, Pete. Bucky Irving and Chase Brown. Does it stand to reason? Okay. Jonah Coleman, J.K. Dobbins, Damon Claiborne, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, Tyler Algier with Jeremiah Love, Ray Davis with James Cook, Ollie Gordon with Devon Achane, Isaiah Davis with Brees Hall. You have some premier running backs where this would be huge leverage on the field, and we have stuffed and shoveled like all the gold into the fire, whatever that meme is from DuckTales, where they're just shoveling money into the furnace.
I
But
thought
it
it
could be
was
the
no, is it Doctor? I thought that was Fairly Godparents.
whatever it is, the point remains we are stuffing as many tickets as we can and throwing it against the wall. And I love doing this. When I go so light at running back, I love doing crap like this. And to me, Pete, I know we talked about how we feel about Bucky Irving, but when I can get him at prices, when you can get him at late RB2 prices, and all he has to do is fill my RB2 spot. Normally, when we would draft Bucky Irving in prior years, he'd be higher in ADP like last year. So I'm thrilled and ecstatic that I can get him at a value and just let all these other running backs marinate. Granted, I need to get some standalone value and I need to get printed points. So there's a degree where early in the season, these running backs may not be hitting like I like, but one running back that serves versatile as a cuff, or two actually, that serve as a cuff and flex cuff value parallel, will be Ollie Gordon, because I think he's going to get more run than HN rosterers want. And then Tyler Algier that we covered for the Cardinals. So I'm elated with how this team is built right now. I think the only thing right now, we go back up, it's Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield, Pete. Shy of that, and I'm still betting pure health on them. I'm feeling very good about this team, especially with Stowers as my third tight end. I love Brenton Strange. So Pete, how are you feeling now?
Yeah, I feel good. I now if I'm in your spot, I'm looking for, okay, who are the cheap pieces in this offense, in these offenses for the Bucks and for the Vikings that I can add on to the end of these rosters just in case, like a Tez Johnson,
Yep.
right? I'm assuming Ted Hurst is gone.
Yep.
Kate Otton's gone. So for the Bucks, it's starting to kind of thin out there. For the Vikings, you got like a Ty Felton who made a nice one-handed catch. I don't know if Jawan Jennings is still there. I gotta imagine he's not there anymore, Jay. But
He's
if
gone.
he is, yeah, I was gonna say if he is, that would be somebody I would take a chance on. But unfortunately, I don't really see a ton of meat left on the bone in those offenses for guys to take swings on. Is there somebody outside of maybe Tez Johnson that you think could be somebody that you would look at?
I think it would be Tez Johnson for the Buccaneers because Jalen McMillan, who has already gone, I love Jalen McMillan. I had considered taking him around where he went. So I think past Tez Johnson, there isn't really much left. Kate Otten has also gone as well. Let me cue you up to on team defenses, Pete. Panthers, Bucks, Raiders, Commanders, Dolphins, Jets, Cardinals. You don't have to say it now. We can wait until we're on the clock. Are there any defenses there that would be palatable to take here in round 24?
There is one defense, but I think we could probably still wait on them. I don't think anybody's gonna shoot for them, so we can wait. But I do want to just say, let's take one more quick break. For the last break of the show, stick with us if you're still watching. Make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you're not, and we'll be right back.
The NFFC, my favorite high stakes fantasy platform. Why? Third round reversal, Kentucky Derby draft slot allocation. So it's a lottery based system where you can put in your preference where you want to draft. It's full PPR. There's 3 receivers. It's the best place to play fantasy football, especially for high stakes. And now they've combined with the FFWC. They have a lot more contests to offer. In fact, they have the Double Crown bonus where you can join the NFFC Primetime. And if you win that, 300 grand. You can also join the Circle World Championship, and that's 200 grand. You win both, you win $1 million. So go to playnffc.com/profiler and check the show description for a number of promo codes you can use. First time 100 to get $100 when you sign up, but also every time you sign up for a new contest, we give you codes to use to get discounts on those entry fees as well. Thank you to the NFFC. They make our podcast network what it is.
Love it. Now 2 defenses go off the board. Buccaneers, Commanders. Do you think I should go on the front end defense or back end defense of this wraparound pick?
So tell me what defenses do we have available? Read them off to me. Just read them all off.
Panthers, Raiders, Dolphins, Jets, Cardinals.
That's it.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking we just go grab it. I think we just go grab them.
Okay. But don't say it. Don't say anything. Shh. There's people out there. And then I have a receiver in mind who I'll go for. Okay, now we're up. Is it the New York Jets, Pete?
It is. Yeah, I would take the Jets. There's a chance under Aaron Glenn, that it gets better. But either way, they added some pieces. I think the Jets roster in general was just better this year. The offense was so bad that the defense was just put in some really bad spots. Of course, they didn't have a lot of turnovers, so I get it. But they get the Cardinals to start off in the playoffs, which is nice to have. First week of the playoffs, and then they get the Patriots and the Vikings, which obviously is not nearly as bullish, but I could also see the Vikings just being a train wreck if Kyler isn't good, and that wouldn't be good for us, of course, because we have Kyler. But either way, you get it. But I do want to give Michael a shout out. He's in the draft here. I don't know what team.
Yeah, what team is he?
Yeah, I would love to hear that, Michael. What team you are? But he said
we can cover his team.
Yeah, we'll cover his team at the end if you want to tell us, Michael, what team you got.
And shout out to the 477 people who are out here streaming with us. You love to see it. NFFC, just a great product, a lot of fun right now. I've had so much fun, Pete. Probably the coolest wrinkle is this kicker and defense angle where you have to account for. It gives me a little bit of that satisfaction of the redraft itch. But part of what's happening here is in a deep best ball, you have to kind of do an anticipatory waiver wire. Like all these picks of me going where I talked about Ray Davis, Ollie Gordon, Torrey Horton, Isaiah Davis. A lot of these players are going to be, especially on shorter bench redraft teams, waiver wire articles where they're featured. And with best ball, you have to kind of anticipate when that might happen. And speaking of waiver wire, here's a player who I think is going to be a waiver wire darling. And if we believe in the Titans ascension, Pete, I'm going to go another receiver because I have 8 receivers, 8 running backs. So I feel a nice balance. I'm going to go with Alec A. Manor in year 2. If we get another ascension, I mentioned it earlier with Chimere Dike, Alec A. Manor, just underneath Wan'Dale Robinson and Carnell Tate. I love the idea of this late in a draft, somebody like Chimere Dike, where if he gives me 2 to 3 spike weeks in this round, in round 25, that's incredible. You talk about not taking zeros, but at a certain point, you talk about, hey, can we print points? And I think Alec Manor is just another one of those layered players, especially when you get it could be an injury to Carnell Tate. And then what happens? Brian Dayball offense, how would that run? Well, Wandell Robinson gets hurt. There's going to be a third target. We talked about Gunnar Helm. So this is another play too where I won't want to click in, especially in a shallow redraft. But in the deep best ball, I don't have to think about Helm. I don't have to think about Alec Manor. So in one sense, somebody goes Gunnar Helm, team 2, which we'll cover. And over here, I go with Alec Manor. So a lot of fun, the strategy that goes with some of these very layered plays deep on these rosters.
Yeah, by the way, Michael did say he is team number 2. So why don't we take a little bit of look and see what how it turned out. So he took Bijan, Jeremiah Love, and he did get the discount on Josh Allen, who did fall a little bit there at the end of round 3. He goes Tet McMillan, Rome Odunze, Quinshon Judkins, and then he goes Kyle Pitts, Alec Pierce. He ends up getting that Rico discount and the RJ Harvey discount, so he really lucked out there. He gets Jalen Coker, who I happen to really like this year, Jay. He gets him in round 12. I think Jalen Coker should be a top 100 player for sure. So I like it. The only thing I would be a little concerned about is, just not enough, a little bit more risk than I would have wanted at wide receiver in his room. I do love Tet, of course. I like Rome this year. Alec Pierce with the ankle, Rome with the target competition, Tet with the low ceiling offense, and then obviously Coker. I just worry about it, but he also gets Coker and Tet to stack in Bryce Young's offense, right? So he does get the stack there as well. What do you think?
So he's guaranteeing the wide receiver 1 with the Panthers. Part of the mindset could be, well, you're betting against yourself versus a broader field. But with so few receivers, you're guaranteeing something, which I think is highly valuable. We want to bet on Tedoroa McMillan being the guy. Roma Dunze could absolutely be the player. So you've got 2 stud wide receivers. I don't love the Shakir pick, but the running backs that you have are so excellent. Bijan, Love, Quinshon Judkins, and then layering down. Where I went strength in receiver, I want to say team 2, shout out to you. You went strength in running back. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out as this goes on. One note on the Shakir pick, my question would be, did you go in round 11 Shakir because you had an easier stack with Josh Allen? Granted, DJ Moore had gone. I love the Pitts pick. So a lot of good pieces as you're going through this draft. So very nice start, especially those first 10 rounds. But it'll be interesting to see how it plays out with all the running back. Does running back positional advantage hit? My one knock, I think, as you were alluding to, Pete, when you need the 3 wide receivers started perpetually, and then you're trying to get a flex, that can be very tough when you don't have enough receivers out there.
Yeah, being that it's a start 3 wide, being that it's a start 3 wide receiver, it makes it a little bit tougher. I don't mind going running back bully. Like I said, I just worry a little bit. Alec Pierce, though, you get a little bit of a discount on him. He's been falling in drafts, so he's your wide receiver 3. I just think there's decent amount of question marks with your top guys, enough to make it a little bit uneasy, and especially when you have to start 3 wide receivers, would kind of be my takeaway there.
And I love it. So good stuff here. Some players at the top of the queue, Pete. Funny enough, Brandon Ayuk, nobody's going to touch him. Shamir DK is there. Theo Johnson at tight end. Mike Gesicki. Keenan Allen, who was unsigned. There could be some upside there. LaQuint Allen, who you love. So any of those names pop out to you?
Yeah, I like LaQuint Allen. He's definitely somebody. Keenan Allen's interesting too. I don't know, Jay. I just don't think that he's just gonna retire. I think he's gonna sign with somebody. Maybe when there's a camp injury, he'll end up signing somewhere. So I don't mind going the Keenan Allen route, but I'm not like in love with him. Where I'm like, hey, if you prefer somebody else, I think it's totally fine.
Man, love it. So it might end up being, oh, there we go. So maybe somebody was listening. Shout out to you. That's a sharp pick, as sharp as it gets.
Well, that's funny because this drafter also took Kamani Vidal right after we passed on him too. So maybe they are listening. Who knows?
Not a bad deal. At this point, I'm going to take, because we're at the top of the board, I'm going to go with Mac Jones as my third
Yeah,
quarterback.
good.
And I love the upside, the trade viability that could happen. Maybe he ends up backdoor stacking with somebody else. What if Jalen Hurts gets hurt, Mac Jones gets traded, and then I have a ultra backdoor Makai Lemon stack and Eli Stowers? Crazier things can happen. And you saw the viability of how good he was. I don't mind in these tournaments taking an upside third quarterback, and he's one who just stands out like a sore thumb to me. Funny enough, Shamir DK still on the board. Keenan Allen, who we spoke to. I'm trying to sit here thinking, is there any pressure on any position that we need to apply towards the end here? Probably, maybe some more quarterback, of course, is out there. Um, what do you think, Pete?
No, I think we definitely still need to we need to grab a kicker at the end. So we'll probably try to save that for our
For
last
round
pick. Just to
round 30. Yep.
yeah, just for the buy. Quarterback, not really. I mean, Mac Jones is a sharp pick. I don't know how much better you're going to get at quarterback. There's no reason to press and take another one, in my opinion, unless there's just somebody you really like.
Mhm.
Maybe it's Tez Johnson pick, just off the fact that Tez is, going to be stacked in there. He's got that upside ability, big play ability.
Mhm.
So maybe that's a possible route that you could go, but doesn't sound like you like Tez that much. I mean, I'm good with whichever direction.
At this point, you need a pulse. And we've seen Tez Johnson perform. I think it was last year when Emeka Buka was kind of on a downward spiral and Mike Evans was out. So, my God, in round 27, we were talking about depth chart. And I have Buccaneers share. I have Emeka Ibuka, who we took a stand on very early. Baker Mayfield, Bucky Irving. Not able to climb down the ladder on Jalen McMillan. But to your point, it's a cruel, tough game. And a lot of players key in and key out. And look at Jalen Tolbert, round 26. He's clocking in every day to come play and ball out. And if he gets opportunity, it's just that close in the NFL. So all these different players, Skylar Bell in round 22, you think he's going to be a zero as a rookie, but what if something happens to DJ Moore? It's just so funny and underrated. Christian Kirk is another one for the 49ers. Jack Betch, who was buried in year two. I think Elijah Surratt is a great pick. He has a pulse at this point. I know Jacoby Lane is the lead and he's showing
Yeah.
out at camp. But speak to Elijah Surratt. I mean, is there anything that you like about him? Did you like him, Elijah Surratt, on draft day? I know he fell, but is this, to me, I think he's a viable pick in round 27, and it's not an automatic zero. And I think that's a win there for this team.
Yeah, I think Surratt's look, there's openings to be had at the wide receiver position for Baltimore. If this offense does open up a little bit too, it's not a bad get at all. I mean, look, camp hype is camp hype. If you really like a player and you like where they went, just because they're not getting hyped up this early on, doesn't mean you should just be out on a player. One guy I would note, Malik Benson, wide receiver to the Raiders. If he's available, he'd be somebody I'd be considering. Reports are that he's running with the ones, and this is an offense that really, really needs talent at the wide receiver position. So that's a really open room, and he's already getting that time with the one. So he's somebody that I've, kind of been looking at here and there. Why don't you share your other screen with the players? If you hit share tab on your screen, that's showing where you're making the selections. Why don't we take a look and just see what's left for a quick second here, and you can kind of walk through the viewers to see kind of what other players you might be looking at right now.
Absolutely. Pull it up. And then here we've got Brandon Ayuk, Samir DK. Can you hear me good?
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Theo Johnson, Mike Gesicki, Keenan Allen, Chris Brown.
What about well, I like Jimmy Horn a little bit now that now that what's his face is injured. I see you got Ty Felton in the queue. You got Milrow. Chimere DK is interesting too. I don't know why so many are interested in why does IU Manor go ahead of DK who played really well last year.
Well, he's there. He's available. So I could take Mayor DK.
Yeah, I get I'm not totally sure why that's the case. Um.
Yeah, we see Mike Gesicki go, Chimere Decky. So somebody's listening.
Who's that tight end left? Click on tight end.
We got Theo, Michael Mayer, Cole Kmet, Tavion Sanders.
Okay. Noah Gray. And is Raritan left? Eli Raritan?
Sure is.
Yeah. He would be like a last pick kind of upside play, if Hunter Henry up there in age gets hurt. Also, Raritan's has had some nice camp reports too. So he's kind of interesting.
Well, we see Keenan Allen go. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. Keenan is you get a lot of value on these free agent wide receivers that are veterans that are good that just didn't sign. I mean, Deebo Samuel wasn't signed. He shoots up the board. Stephon Diggs not signed. He shoots up the board, right? I mean, Keenan Allen, he'll sign somewhere and he'll be a top 200 pick in this format and possibly top 120, 130 depending on where he goes. So I don't think it's a bad pick at all.
And then we see Justin Fields go. What do you make of him?
Yeah, I'm good on it. I get the thought process in a tournament like this. Mahomes coming off the injury, something happens. You get the backup, and Fields has the rushing upside. But I don't know. If it was the Mahomes owner, I could understand. I don't know if that's the case, but if it is the Mahomes owner, it makes more sense.
Well, I love the Taj Brooks pick at Team 108. I was looking at him, but hey, I've got enough upside cuffs.
Does Team 9 have 5 kickers?
It looks like it.
Yeah,
They do.
Not really sure what's going on there, but I feels like money wasted. I don't know how 5 kickers just seems absolutely insane. I don't know. Maybe there's an edge that I'm not aware of that I'm missing out on. I'm not sure.
So you say we'll get a kicker as well and maybe another position, right?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
All right. Do you think you go Jalen Milrow or Eli Raritan?
I'd go with Milrow over Raritan. Just based on your quarterback room, only real 2 starters. So.
All right, I love it. I've been doing this in Superflex tournaments, taking these high upside quarterbacks. It's phenomenal. So I guess the only thing we have to do left is look for kickers.
Yeah, well, Team 9 might take a 6th kicker, and then, I mean, is there any kickers left?
Actually, no, they've all run out. Maybe they were trying to squeeze us.
Oh, Team 10 took the last one, then 1 pick before the last round. What a joke.
Well, we'll just have to go with the positional advantage there with the Dallas Cowboys.
Whatever.
All defenses are gone. So do you think, are you inclined to go towards receiver or running back, or maybe Raritan if he comes back?
What running backs are even left? Najee Harris available?
We've got Seth McGowan, Devin Neal.
Eli Raritan goes to Team 10.
Oh, yeah, they got to be listening.
Interesting.
Jarquez Hunter, Phil Maffa. Let's see. Adam Randall's gone.
Yeah, Randall's gone. He's been gone. He was probably a couple rounds ago at least.
I'm thinking either Devin Neal or Seth McGowan, who still have a pulse. Najee Harris is out there as a free agent.
Najee's interesting. I would prefer Najee over Devin Neal. I'm good with McGowan though. You got JT with his holdout potential. getting up there in age. He did have issues with staying healthy a little bit ago. Um, Najee's just interesting because you just know he's gonna sign somewhere and just be like, gonna crater some sort of room just in terms of their cost. Like people are just gonna overreact super super strongly to him. But I mean, this is just Najee's such a weird situation, man. I mean, he goes from being with the Steelers, being a compiler, not like a game breaker, and then goes to the Chargers. They end up draft. You think he's gonna have a big role, then they go draft Hampton first round, and then you're like, well, he's gonna hurt Hampton, and then he gets hurt, and then it's like, well, what is he now? I don't know, but I do know he might get a role, at some point, and you might say, Pete, he's not even signed. Like, he's coming off a torn Achilles. What are we talking about here? But I don't think the guy's retiring.
Well, anything to somebody like Marvin Mims, who's still on the board. We talked about the Denver Broncos layered players. If he gets traded, could that be something appealing?
Yeah, Mims is also a big play guy, so there's some appeal in best ball because of that as well. I don't know.
And I've also got Ty Felton. You had mentioned stacked with Kyler Murray.
Yeah,
Would you
Felton's
lean
interesting.
him or Seth McGowan?
I'd go with McGowan still.
Okay.
In my opinion, the odds of wide receiver 4 on a team being viable in any way for you versus possibly, running back 2 on a team, there's a much clearer path to being successful,
Pete, can you believe that Brandon Ayuk went in round 29?
Yes.
I don't even think he has a pulse, though. Do you think there's any tangible way that he could be on a team this season?
I don't think he is. I don't think. Oh, there's Seth McGown.
Yep,
Oh,
good
it's
pick.
Michael is listening.
Hey, good pick, man. Great pick.
No, I don't think he gets on a team. He's cooked, man. I really think so.
So you're saying it's Jover. I think it's Jover too. It's tough in Dynasty not having all these dead shares of Brandon Ayuk. What a terrible feeling. Do you have any of him in Dynasty?
No, I moved off of him. There were times, it seemed like, hey, was there some value? I should try to get him at a discount, and then I just never pulled the trigger.
We see Anthony Richardson go. Viable pick this late. I mean, I go with somebody like Jalen Milrow. Any path for Anthony Richardson?
Yeah, I mean he's got the trade request in. We'll see if that amounts to anything. But yeah, I mean it's a good pick with Daniel Jones coming off the injury and his inability to stay healthy too. It's not a bad pick at all.
So we're coming on the last round. It's basically players with a pulse. It's funny. We see Ty Simpson go. I like that play. In the event that Matthew Stafford gets hurt, you're looking at the Rams being a phenomenal play.
Yep, I agree. Jadavion Sanders goes to Michael. Something to note too. I think he has an ankle injury. I think he got dinged up in practice, which is a bummer. Sanders has always been a guy that people have really been higher on and liked. So hopefully he can stay healthy because there's a lot of opportunity in that room. Cole Kmet goes. I know you had him queued. Jahan Dotson goes. He's got a chance to technically be the wide receiver 2 there. By via depth chart, I guess. So there's some upside there. Malik Davis.
So, man, I really hope somebody doesn't take Ty Felton on me. If anyone's listening.
Is that what you're thinking, though? Is that going to be the pick, Felton?
Yes, Pete. It's 100% going to be Ty Felton. No one can stop me. No one can pick him in front of me these next 3 picks. It's kind of funny as we look at the board. There's so much purple and orange in this bottom half. It's just funny how things start and end.
Dude, team 9. I mean, what an absolute joke of a roster. I'm sorry, but if this person ever listens to this, I mean, this person, team 9, has 3 defenses and 5 kickers, and you look at where this person took them. It's like from round 16 to 30. Like he killed most of his board, and he took a bunch of backup quarterbacks, Shador Sanders and Jameis Winston in that time. I mean, he's got so many dead picks here. That's really, really brutal. That's a really bad way to go about it. I'm sorry. I'm just gonna be honest.
And there's been no like auto draft that I've noticed.
No.
So it's active clicks, I guess. Maybe if you don't know all the players that are out there. But here I am, Pete. I know I talked about Ty Felton. I lied my face off. I'm going with Bryce Lance. What if you get Jordan Tyson, who's injury prone? You get Chris Olave, who has concussions. You're not one step off. Round 4 draft capital. He's a layered play. I love having him. So I could have gotten the stack with Ty Felton, but I think it's too cute. I actually like the idea of Bryce Lance. So a sleeper for me to get him in round 30. I am elated.
Yeah, I like it. Bryce Lance, good offense, really, really good schedule, and somebody who can absolutely carve out a decent role and have some spike weeks. So I don't hate the pick at all. Why don't you read the team off? Michael, thank you for drafting with us. Anybody else that drafted with us, thank you guys so much. We'll be back doing this again soon. If you've heard on the audio side, thank you for hopping in as well. Jeremiah, read the team and make sure we read the promo, and then we'll get out of here.
All right, so we have Chase Brown, Emeka Buka, George Pickens, Bucky Irving, Parker Washington, Mekhi Lemon, Jordan Addison, and then we stack Baker Mayfield with Emeka Buka and Bucky Irving. We stack Kyler Murray with Jordan Addison. As we go down the board, third RB is Jonah Coleman. And then in round 11, Casey Concepcion, just another layered player that we love. Dallas Cowboys team kicker. He's our only kicker in round 12. We're going to get positional advantage. Bretton Strange. I waited until round 13 for me to come away in the entirety of the tight end room of Strange. Dalton Schultz in round 17. In round 20, Eli Stowers. I am elated. I have a cool thing going on with Parker Washington and Bretton Strange with a receiver and a tight end. I have a cool thing with Eli Stowers and Mekhi Lemon with a receiver and tight end with a quarterback I don't have in Jalen Hurts. Jaguars, Eagles, respectively, high-octane offenses. And then we've got Damon Claiborne, Tyler Algier, Ray Davis, Ollie Gordon, Isaiah Davis. I took shots on all these running backs who I think I've got so much leverage on the rest of the draft board and hopefully the entirety of this contest. Layered player receivers, Trey Harris, Torrey Horton, Alec Amanor, and then down to, I can't sit here and act like I intentionally came out with Tez Johnson, Malik Benson, or Bryce Lance, but as you know to Pete, Malik Benson, running with the ones. I am stealing in round 27 if that's the case. And then you take some risk in some places by building my team how much I did. It's Mac Jones and Jalen Milroe, who may not fill much of any points for me this year. So, Pete, if you want to go, everyone, on high stakes, sign up with PlayerProfiler, NFFC, first time 100, all right, for $100 off any initial entry of $150 or more. So make sure you do that. Love having you all. I love that. Great analysis, Coach and Pete, and had a great time. Good luck to everyone. It's been a lot of fun. Let's hear one more time from our sponsor, and we'll be on our way.
The NFFC, my favorite high-stakes fantasy platform. Why? Third round reversal, Kentucky Derby draft slot allocation. So it's a lottery-based system where you can put in your preference, where you want to draft. It's full PPR. There's 3 receivers. It's the best place to play fantasy football, especially for high stakes. And now they've combined with the FFWC. They have a lot more contests to offer. In fact, they have a double crown bonus where you can join the NFFC Primetime. And if you win that, 300 grand. You can also join the Circa World Championship, and that's 200 grand. You win both, you win $1 million. So go to playnffc.com/profiler and check the show description for a number of promo codes you can use. First time 100 to get $100 when you sign up, but also every time you sign up for a new contest, we give you codes to use to get discounts on those entry fees as well. Thank you to the NFFC. They make our podcast network what it is.